Adelaide. This is Adelaide's FIVEaa.
Mostly sunny and 17 today with the 6 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Keep your body in shape with Physio Extra Clinical Pilates and group exercise classes. PhysioExtra.com.
The federal government's second COVID budget shows Australia's economy is recovering at a much faster rate than expected. Unemployment is tipped to drop below 5%, driven by big spending measures. The jobs boom is leading to fewer people on welfare, which will help reduce the deficit by $53 billion. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says we haven't seen this level of employment in decades.
You have to go back to the 1970s to find another time where Australia enjoyed unemployment at those lower levels. In this budget, we're investing significantly in skills, in infrastructure, in providing tax relief for families.
SA Shadow Treasurer Stephen Mulligan has welcomed the GST windfall headed our way.
It is encouraging to see a surge in GST revenues that are destined for South Australia. This additional GST money means Stephen Marshall's got everything he needs now to fix the ramping crisis. He can stop the health cuts, open up closed hospital beds and employ more paramedics.
The federal government is hoping Australia can gradually reopen its borders by mid-2022. This would allow for more international tourists as well as temporary and permanent migrants. The budget also flags the potential to bring in foreign students by the end of this year. Cash has been stolen from a service station at Salisbury Downs. The outlet on Salisbury Highway was hit by a man with a small knife around 8:30 last night. The hunt for the suspect continues, with police releasing CCTV images on their Facebook page. The hotel quarantine system is under a microscope again after a Victorian man tested positive to COVID after returning from 14 days at the Playford in the city. The man tested negative upon his arrival from India, but questions remain over whether being housed in a room next to an infected person at the Medi Hotel played a part in his diagnosis. Only a month after her husband's death, the Queen has attended the state opening of UK Parliament. Nine's Ben Avery reports from London.
It was the Queen's 67th state opening of Parliament, but her first as a widow. In years gone by, she'd attend alongside the Duke of Edinburgh, but this year she was greeted by Prince Charles, who held his mother's hand as they walked to the sovereign's throne. It was there Her Majesty made her traditional Queen's speech, an address that is written by the British Prime Minister outlining the government's priorities for the coming parliamentary year. The 95-year-old monarch was the only person in the chamber without a face mask and stood out in a lilac dress.
At least 7 children and a teacher have been killed in a school shooting east of Moscow. The BBC's Sarah Rainsford says it's prompted President Putin to order a review of civilian gun ownership.
The Interior Ministry there is saying that this was a lone attacker, one young man, a 19-year-old, we believe, a former student in the city of Kazan. We saw some very dramatic images this morning of people trying to make it to safety, children from that school, some of them throwing themselves, jumping from the windows of the 3rd story of the school building, trying to escape, and you could hear the gunshots in the background.
Now to FIVEaa Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
And it's good morning to Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you, Mel. Port Adelaide ruckman Scott Lycett has been handed a 4-game ban for his tackle on Crows midfielder Ned McHenry. It means he won't return until the round 14 clash against Gold Coast because the Power also have a bye in round 12. The selectors now have to decide who to bring in to replace Lycett. Pete Laddams is the obvious choice, but youngster Sam Hayes is a big chance to make his debut, and former skipper Travis Boak has told Channel 9 he's done a lot right.
His growth over the last couple of years has been amazing, and his form so far this year has put him right up there to debut and put his hand up to play his first game, so he's certainly around the mark.
Meantime, Richmond insists discussions on a contract extension for Shai Bolton will not be impacted by his involvement in a nightclub fight at the weekend. The club says he stepped in after teammate Daniel Rioli was punched in the face while defending his girlfriend against inappropriate behaviour. Manchester City are English Premier League champions again after bitter crosstown rivals. Manchester United lost 2-1 against Leicester. The result means City are now 10 points clear with only 3 matches left in the season. Leicester is now up to 3rd on the table and is all but assured of finishing in the top 4. There was one other game on right now with Southampton leading Crystal Palace 2-1 with about half hour to play. And the Adelaide 36ers playoff hopes have suffered a major blow after going down 71-66 against Illawarra. Tony Crocker leading the way for the Sixers with 16 points. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
Heading for a top of 17 and mostly sunny today. Showers tomorrow 17. Friday a possible shower 17. Right now it's hovering around 6 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Most people I know think that I'm crazy.
At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Ecopia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6 after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to Wednesday on 5AA Breakfast. Coming up this morning after 7, we're going to do a quick fire wrap of all the key players in South Australia scoring the federal budget. They'll rate it out of 10. They'll tell you why. It's going to be quick fire. I'm looking forward to doing this after 7 o'clock. It's going to be a lot of information coming your way from a lot of the most important people in this state. So that's coming up after 7 today. It is a Wednesday, which means Sean Fuster will join us. We'll go round the courts. Tom Duday from the Adelaide Football Club, South Australian Senator Simon Birmingham, the Minister for Finance on the federal budget, and a story that I think is the best story bar none of the day. It was written by David in the Australian overnight. It's the lead on page 1 today, and it is a story that reveals the potential for South Australia to, within 6 months, have the capacity to be totally self-reliant when it comes to manufacturing the mRNA types of vaccines, which are Pfizer and Moderna and others, which means two things, David, and you can perhaps expand on this. We can make them and not have to rely on the rest of the world, one, but two, if there's little variations that ever need to be made because the virus mutates or we make better vaccines down the track, we could handle it all here in South Australia. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, listeners. Yeah, I actually haven't been as excited about a story as this one for quite a long time. It's phenomenal how advanced the idea is at this. It's a Pfizer plant that's been there for 35 years in Theberton, and it was acquired last year by this American biotechnology firm called FIVEaa. I spoke yesterday to their CEO, a lovely guy called Ian Weisenberg, lives in San Diego. Lucky him, beautiful town, a lot of good Mexican food there, yeah, basically this factory is ready to roll, and what they've done is it's a three-way partnership with the University of Adelaide and the SAMRI. So you've got the research arm, you've got the sort of industry application, sort of blue sky crazy thinking that SAMRI provides. What can we do with this? How far can we push it? And what it basically means, in short, is these are synthetic vaccines. Now, I'm no scientist, but I spent a long time reading all the bits and pieces on the fact sheet and spoke to all these people who are much smarter than me yesterday. But what it basically means is that by synthesizing the DNA structure of a virus, which is what AstraZeneca doesn't do, where it actually uses the virus, Pfizer and Moderna don't use the virus. So what that means is you can almost create the vaccine in a factory-type setting. And it means that, as you said, Will, not only do we have to not go cap in hand to Europe or some other source country to get our hands on the vaccine, we'll have it right here. They reckon they can make up to like 100 million doses within 6 to 12 months.
That was an important point that was made in the article. I'm not sure if it was made in something you'd written or a quote that you got directly, but it went to the role that Australia then could play in our region.
Yeah, totally.
As we
should.
Imagine
that as a form of soft diplomacy.
Exactly
imagine
right.
Say to Vanuatu, for example, not that they've had any massive COVID dramas, but a country like Vanuatu, which in the last 20 years has, out of necessity, and because we've been tight with our foreign aid, they've moved way, way closer to China. If we become the regional vaccine heroes, that's got all sorts of benefits. But the other thing is, as one of the I think it was the professor from Adelaide Uni, who's a immunologist actually a chemical engineer who's going to be coming on the program at 6:50, Professor Anton Middleberg. Talking to him about this, he said that the amount of money that is required to get it up and running is quite negligible. It just seems to be the perfect thing for South Australia to be doing. Like, instead of worrying about, I mean, I'm not saying you don't worry about like defence jobs or something, but this has got the potential to change the perceptions of the state. It's a really good thing.
And let's talk to that for a second then. This is not happening elsewhere. So CSL, the private company, are making AstraZeneca, as I understand it, in Australia at the moment. We're not talking about the WA version of this, are we? We're not talking about the Victorian version of this.
No.
This is the Australian version of this is Samri, is Pfizer, is their old facility. It's South Australia.
Yeah, that's right.
This is a sensational story.
The quote I was looking for from Professor Middleberg was, once COVID-19's out of the way, the advantage of having this plant up and running would be when COVID-23 comes along, we just go, right, here we go.
Yep.
Let's do this.
Fire up the factory.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you went through the human factory yesterday.
I did. And
got some of the old-fashioned AstraZeneca. How did you find the whole process?
Big shout-out to Viv, my lovely nurse. The only downside of it, there was a woman in front of the queue, and she looked like she had a few health issues. She complained and complained and complained about absolutely every aspect of doing it.
Like what?
Well, why aren't there more people here? Why have you got all those booths? Some of them are empty. Why aren't they all full? Who's in charge here? I would have thought if there's going to be a mass pandemic, you'd have a nurse giving the injections in every booth. I've been waiting here for half an hour. And I felt like saying, hey, darling, why don't you go to Delhi and see how the vaccine rollout's operating? Huge kudos to the young woman who was way, way, way above her pay grade, being asked the sorts of questions that should really be directed to Stephen Wade and Stephen Marshall, who just quite calmly kept her company and kept her calm. I guess some people get stressed out by the environment, but big shout out to Viv, my nurse, terrific. Needle in and out. I got there I was booked in for 1:30. I got there this is the Goiter Pavilion, the Wavell Showgrounds, the one where you normally go to see the succulents and the orchids and the kids' musical plays. Got there in fact, I was cutting it real fine because I'd been interviewing one of these doctors at home. I've been on the phone to the guy in San Diego. I went, ah! So I ran down the street because it's walking distance to the showgrounds for me. Got in there right on 1:30. You've got to fill in a long form. You've got to write your Medicare number down 3 times, which is one of the things that the lady was very upset about. Why do I have to write the Medicare number down 3 times? But I've got the piece of paper here. I brought it in especially well. So, batch number DV46672, dose 1, date 11/5/21.
That was a good batch.
Well,
is it
time
like wine?
2:15 p.m. Well, no, how's this? See that yellow sticker? This is the thing that interested me. Syringe used by date 11 May 2021, which is yesterday. So, 11 May, sorry, that's 1921. So the dose of AstraZeneca that I had expired yesterday at 21 minutes past 7 at night, which is 5 hours and 6 minutes after it was injected into me. My only question is, are used by dates on the AstraZeneca virus, are they akin to sour cream where you go, oh, look, it's already sour, it's already off, we'll leave that for a few days. That'll still work. Or is it more in the smoked salmon category, where the moment it's off, it's off?
I think you're asking the perennial question, is it used by or best before?
Yes, that's right. And is it also like when you go to Drake's and you see the Slape & Sons Chipolata beef sausages that are normally $6.85 a pack, and then it says, reduced 50%, and you're looking at me going, I don't know.
Right. The nurses are trained to give it a sniff. Yeah, I think it's still good.
That's all right.
Yeah,
that's
that
good.
one will do. Give it a Penberthy. 15 minutes after 6. Good time probably to check in with other people's stories for going to Wavell or GP and other places. 8223 0000. How have you found the process? Text us on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line to 0448 08 1395. News headlines coming up.
For most business PC brands, a 4-hour service guarantee means they'll call you back in 4 hours. But at Leader Computers, a 4-hour service guarantee on Leader's business range means they'll come to your worksite and have you back in business inside 4 hours. Leader Computers are local, made here in Adelaide with better service, better support and speedy turnaround times. Live life local. Live life Leader. Leader Computers. Find your local dealer at leadersystems.com.au.
When you think surgery, you think hospital, right? Well, Dr. Greg Keane wants you to think SportsMed.
SportsMed is the only purpose-built orthopaedic hospital in the country, with world-class nursing and theatre staff, a first-class catering team, and the latest innovations in patient treatment and care.
And your surgeons?
We're experts in all procedures for hips, knees, feet, ankles, shoulders, elbows, wrists and hands.
All your treatments, all your care. One place. SportsMed.
Start living life again after your successful surgery.
sportsmed.com.au.
Decided you need to get behind the wheel of a new Mazda? You don't have to wait for end of financial year sales. Mawson Lakes Mazda has amazing deals across the entire range of new Mazdas right now. With up to 300 cars on site, you're sure to find the model and colours you're dreaming of. Or drive away in a low-kilometre demo before the crush of end of financial year sales. Don't wait months. Get into Mawson Lakes Mazda now. Just a short drive from the city.
You might think having thousands of pals is excessive, but that's not what the team at Parafield Airport Liquor Store think, because that's how many they have. Sure, they might be made up of over 100 gins, over 200 whiskies, over 300 craft beers, and over 2,000 boutique wines. But they're some of the best pals you could have, and they're always looking for more, even if they are tricky to track down. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
17 after 6. Turns out syringes do indeed have use-by dates, expiry dates, injection needles too. The date indicates when the syringe or needle is guaranteed to remain sterile. I think it's more about the packaging around it than the actual needle itself, according to what we've just been able to glean from some of the info. After that period, the manufacturer cannot or will not guarantee sterility. It also guarantees against manufacturing errors, warping, or anything else that might affect proper functioning. So I think you're safe.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I think there's no problems there.
So I haven't gone the dodgy smoked salmon path.
No. Well, you seem to be all right.
In all seriousness, all I've got is a slightly dull pain in my arm.
That's good. Good result.
Yeah, everything else has got.
You're back 6 weeks.
Yes,
8 weeks.
August.
6 weeks. 6 weeks.
That was the other thing. When you leave, there's an information desk, and you can just book in straight away for your next appointment for dose 2. I think I'm down in. I've got a text from them anyway.
All right.
But the important thing is I've got appointment too.
Let's get into the news headlines this morning. Of course, headlined by the federal budget last night. Jobs at the centre of the budget. The unemployment rate tipped to fall below 5%. It's hoped a massive spending spree on infrastructure, aged care and childcare will continue to drive Australia's economic recovery. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says it's a remarkable achievement, while the opposition argues the government is merely restoring money to essential services, which it ripped out itself over many years. Here is the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg.
Tonight, I outline the Morrison government's plan to secure Australia's economic recovery and build for the future, a plan that continues to protect Australians from COVID. A plan that creates more jobs. A plan that guarantees the essential services.
It's nice to see a forecast of an increase to employment, because usually we hear all the words around, well, this is a budget that's going to create jobs. Then you look at the bit that says unemployment rate forecast or employment rate change, and it's unchanged.
Yeah.
Hang on, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You don't even believe that.
Like it's a pro-jobs budget. It's like, well, okay, what are the jobs?
Exactly right. This one, at least they're confident enough to say they're going to be there.
Anyone planning on leaving the country, don't get your hopes up. We're not allowed to do it till next year. That's the forecast. And what next
middle
year?
Of next year
when? Yeah,
middle of next year is what they said.
Middle. I don't know. There's nothing in this budget though that stands out in a sort of structural or innovative sense. Like there's no new thing. It's just a huge, great ruddy great whack of mind-boggling numbers, isn't it?
It really is.
And a lot of it's coming to SA too.
Extra $1 billion in GST money.
Yeah.
So much of it I wondered too.
Which is handy for Stephen Marshall a year out, isn't it? From the election.
Well, we could pay for a brand new arena or something in the city.
Might want to pay for something else that
people like. An $18 billion federal government investment in aged care is being described as unprecedented. The money will pay for 80,000 new home care packages and increase the minimum time nursing staff spend with the residents. The Commonwealth will also pay $10 a day per person to help subsidise the cost of care. I think the big things in terms of the spending measures are aged care and mental health. There have been significant investments.
And the NDIS blowout is crazy. Phil had that story yesterday.
The bit about the economic miracle of Australia to me feels as much, it's as much about the Reserve Bank locking in 0% interest rates for the next until 2024 as it is about anything else. There's so much about the enthusiasm and positivity in the economy that seems to be nothing that the actual government's done. It's what you'd say is monetary policy, not fiscal policy. But we might talk more about that a little bit later. This is the saddest story, and it is at this point a entirely puzzling one as well. A 13-year-old boy has been killed. 2 others are lucky to be alive after an industrial bin they were sleeping in was emptied into a garbage truck in Port Lincoln yesterday. One of the boys who managed to get out began banging on the truck's door to alert the driver, but it was too late. Here's SAPOL Superintendent Paul Barr.
Well, it was a pretty cold and wet night too. Wasn't a good night for sleeping outdoors. I think it's fair to say that the boys had somewhere to stay. I don't think it would be fair to classify them as homeless. They had beds they could sleep in.
Weren't homeless, weren't in state care.
Well, there must be something happening within that household.
I can't imagine what other circumstances.
I mean, for God's
could be.
sake, 11, 12 and 13, they're an Indigenous family. There's something going on. There is something going on, and it's so sad for that boy. And I'll tell you what, it is also really sad for that driver. Apparently that bloke, apparently he's in like a catatonic state. They just took him straight to hospital. He couldn't even talk.
He's done nothing wrong, that guy.
Oh, imagine that, though. And like, the old saying, that's above my pay scale. Everything's above your pay scale when you're a garbo.
Yeah.
Like, they're the lowest paid people going around. I'm not trying to make any dismissive reflection on the ultimate and key tragedy here, which is that a boy died under such shocking circumstances where him and his siblings were in a bin. But for God's sake, I think it's important to make the point about the driver too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's bloody horrible.
Absolutely. Victoria Health has added 2 new exposure sites as they investigate the movements of a man who tested positive for coronavirus after spending 14 days in a hotel quarantine here in Adelaide. How about this story on COVID? Qantas ground staff in Brisbane were told to open the door and run after being told a passenger on a plane from Papua New Guinea had COVID-19. That was the official instruction.
Open the door and run. What? Presumably after the plane had landed.
Yeah, that's right. They weren't quite
that
desperate.
Treat it like some sort of landing with the life rafts would come up.
Yeah, open the door and get the hell out of there as quickly as you can. Half an hour before it landed, staff at the arrivals lounge were told to don gloves, put PPE on, and then open the doors and run. So the people at the ground, who are the ones, welcome to Brisbane, were the ones that were told, just open the doors and leave as soon as possible. A witness claims they saw, the last they saw of the COVID passenger, he was sitting on the floor of the arrivals hall, surrounded by Border Force officers looking very sick.
Nasty.
Should imagine being on that flight and hearing that was the instruction to everyone on the ground. 24 minutes after 6, the weather today, it's been a cool night overnight. Right now outside it's 6.2, coldest capital city in Australia this morning. The top today is just 17. No rain around the place. That'll come tomorrow, up to 3 mils and a top of 17. Perhaps a couple more mil around on Friday and a top of 17 again. It's something of a theme. 17 the top Saturday and Sunday. Monday, do we say warming up to 18?
Oh, yeah, I think
that. It's a statistical truth, isn't it?
It is.
Well,
statistically. It
warms up to 18 on Monday and stays warmer on Tuesday at 18.
For over 36 years, Steinborner has been well worth the trip. With over 400 used cars to choose from, you're sure to find the car you're looking for. Steinborner is your first choice for new Hyundai and Mitsubishi in the Barossa, and your first choice for Ford in Clare. And don't forget, you can always click through the collection of vehicles online at steinborner.com.au. Great local deals on great local cars from your locals. Steinborner Automotive. Still well worth a trip, or well worth the click.
At my age, there's not many parts that don't hurt. But at night, when my hip gives me hell, sometimes there's no nurse to help me. Easing my pain, is that too much to ask?
The Royal Commission into Aged Care found there are not enough nurses to administer pain relief. Ask the Morrison government to mandate staff ratio laws in aged care. Go to itsnottoomuch.com. Authorised by EDABAS for ANMF Federation SA Branch Lidlton.
So why go with NRG Solar?
My first contact with NRG Solar was through Michael. He had a look around the house, had a look around the roof. We have particular problems with trees, so he assessed the situation, made some calculations, discussed the options with me. What I liked most about the visit was that Michael was prepared to explain things in simple language to us and look at the options and just basically being professional.
Visit nrgsolar.com.au.
Hi, I'm Stephen Marshall. This past year has been a tough one for every South Australian, but because of your toughness and your teamwork, we now enjoy a safer place to live, work and raise a family. We're getting on with our recovery plan, creating new industries and new jobs and investing $16.7 billion in infrastructure, health and education to make our state the best place to live in the world. My team and I will continue to work hard to create a future for all South Australians. We're on track, so thank you.
Spoken and authorised by S. Marshall, Liberal Party, Adelaide.
New Age Caravans Adelaide has a brand new showroom on North East Road with the best caravan facilities in the state. And to celebrate, they're throwing a 10-day grand opening super sale. Get up to $5,000 of free accessories when you buy any New Age caravan. And there's even limited pre-Christmas build spots available. Don't miss the New Age Caravans Adelaide grand opening super sale. Hurry, ends Sunday. 817 North East Road, Valley View, open 7 days.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
27 minutes after 6, Tom Renner, the 5AA Breakfast studio with us. Save up to $400 on selected meal and cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, the home of Mr. Dishwasher. Morning to you, Rennie.
Morning, Will. Morning, David. Scotty Lycett, 4 weeks. Hefty, isn't it? We spoke yesterday, thought it would be 2 to 3, but 4.
Our Alberton correspondent Dave Lloyd sent me a message late last night saying, "Told you." He was the only person that predicted 4 weeks.
Yeah, he did.
I think it's so over the top. And one part of it that I cannot for the life of me understand, and it to me raises all sorts of questions about, like, is it a complete rethink of AFL? But the AFL's lawyer told the tribunal that one of the key issues for Lycett was that he's like about 100 kilos and McHenry is...
probably 75, 80.
So what, are you only
I think
allowed
it's less than that.
Yeah.
But what does that mean?
Light.
Are you only meant to tackle people who weigh roughly the same as you now?
Yeah.
What is this, Auskick?
And I think that's what Port Adelaide argued. They said don't penalise him for being a big man.
73 kilos now.
73, wow.
But is that new?
Yeah, I haven't heard that argument before.
I've heard them say before there's a duty of care in that scenario.
Yeah.
If you're bigger.
Where does it stop, though? The ultimate duty of care is, if we're going to compare it to, like, mopping up some spilt fabric softener in aisle 7, if the ultimate job of every AFL player is to go out there thinking, our key objective today is that nobody can get hurt. What's footy going to look like?
But it seems like a rule crafted by someone who's never been out there. Like,
yeah,
in the moment where you're about to apply a tackle, how much brain power is devoted to? So hang on, how much does this bloke weigh?
Yeah,
Port should appeal, and I hope they win. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve something.
Yeah,
you need to protect the head,
of course,
obviously, but. It's a bit la fantasy stuff, isn't it, what they're talking about here?
Won't be back till round 14 with the bye. Hey, boys, the English Premier League season's come to a close. Well, in terms of who's won it. Manchester City have taken it out. Bit anticlimactic because they're 10 points clear of Manchester United, who lost overnight. So now Manchester United can't catch them because they don't have enough games to get there. just thinking, is this the biggest argument? It's a huge season. You hear I do scores pretty much every day. There's always matches happening. Is it the biggest case for an argument? 38 games per side for a season takes 9 months to complete for finals to be played. Because can you think of an AFL system, no fans there, only people watching at home, and it gets decided by another team playing and losing? Oh, that's it.
Yeah, total anticlimax, isn't it?
Imagine that happening in the AFL.
Isn't that how Leicester won? Didn't they?
They did.
Won because another side beat someone or lost to someone.
Yeah, Manchester City lost.
Yeah.
I mean, and I understand. Like, I love it. I love first past the post, but in instances like this, you just go.
Can we just go back and apply it to the 2017 season?
First past the post.
That would have been good. Yeah.
But it is anticlimactic. Nothing is as good, though, as the prospect of relegation or promotion.
Yeah, I agree.
On that final day.
I love it.
Yeah.
There's so many great sort of David and Goliath type stories that come out of it as well.
And there's always so much drama on that final day because you've got...
Ted Lasso. Have you seen Ted Lasso?
I've seen only one episode of it.
It is terrifically good television.
Yeah, and you get that drama on the final day. It's not going to happen as much this season because no fans, and the relegation side's already decided, as is the title. So, well done to City, though. 5th EPL title since 2010. They're flying at the moment.
Good on you, Rennie.
Thanks boys.
Tom. $400 on selected meal and cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, the home of Mr. Dishwasher.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Mostly sunny today and a top of 17 with the 6:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Trust Physio Extra. Norwood, Purie Street, Marion, Hallicove, Seaford and Victor Harbour. PhysioExtra.com.
Labor claims the federal government's big spending budget is nothing more than a political fix ahead of the next election. Nine's Michael Packey reports from Canberra.
The COVID pandemic has put the federal government in a position the opposition would love to be in. The government has announced billions of dollars in spending measures to help drive jobs and continue to grow the economy. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg says our recovery has been phenomenal.
Australia is coming back.
But Labor argues the coalition is merely restoring money which it ripped out of essential services over many years. The opposition's Jim Chalmers says this budget only has an election in mind rather than real reform.
Massive missed opportunity. This is a marketing exercise.
The budget predicts the deficit will come down as fewer people rely on welfare and more tax revenue is generated. But debt is still expected to reach an eye-watering $1 trillion over the next 4 years.
Treasurer Rob Lucas says SA was a big winner when it comes to infrastructure.
The commitments in relation to investment spending in South Australia are important. We now see with the new commitments, together with the existing commitments, the federal government will be giving South Australia almost $1 billion a year in infrastructure spending.
There are renewed calls for a shift away from quarantine hotels to Howard Springs-type facilities after a new COVID case emerged in Victoria. The man is believed to have contracted coronavirus while in hotel quarantine in South Australia. Former AMA President Dr Tony Bartoni telling Nine the hotel quarantine model is no longer the gold standard.
We've just got to really continue to try and ensure that Howard Springs, the gold standard, becomes the norm rather than the exception to the rule, especially as numbers continue to escalate around the world and variants become even more common in those returning travellers.
The hunt is continuing for a man who held up a Salisbury Downs service station last night. He was carrying a small knife and ran from the Salisbury Highway outlet with cash. No one was hurt. NBN technicians will walk off the job today. It's part of a national day of action over cuts to subcontractors' pay rates. The hard work of nurses during the pandemic and COVID vaccine rollout is being recognised this International Nurses Day. Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia Chairwoman Veronica Casey says they've played a vital role to many in the community.
Throughout this global crisis, we've seen nurses really rise to the occasion in the sense that they've upskilled, they've been innovative, nurses put their patients in the community first, and I think that's been profoundly evident.
The Sands will continue to run through the hourglass for a while yet. Days of Our Lives has been renewed for a record 57th and 58th seasons. The US daytime soapie premiered in 1965.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. The AFL has come down hard on Port Adelaide ruckman Scott Lycett for his sling tackle which concussed Adelaide's Ned McHenry. The Power ruckman has been handed a 4-match suspension at the tribunal. The club now considering launching an appeal. Lycett more remorseful for his actions following the hearing.
Obviously, I'm very remorseful for what's happened on the weekend. I'm going to sit down with the club tonight and then go on, figure out what's to come next. Disappointed with 4 weeks and, very remorseful.
Meantime, Power veteran Tom Rockcliffe is in hospital after being admitted for deep vein thrombosis. Manchester City will be crowned English Premier League champions for a 5th time. Manchester United's 2-1 loss to Leicester City means the Citizens can't be caught at the summit with 3 games left to play. The win also all but secures Champions League football next season for Leicester. One other game on right now with Southampton currently leading Crystal Palace 3-1 with only a few minutes to play. The Adelaide 36ers' 3-game winning streak has come to an end after going down 71-66 against the Illawarra Hawks. And Aussie John Millman has won his first-round match at the Rome Tennis Masters. The Aussie has defeated Serbian Dusan Lajovic 6-3, 6-4. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
17 today, mostly sunny, showers tomorrow 17, Friday a possible shower 17. Right now it's 6 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
24 to 7. Stick around for a story we've got coming up for you before 7 o'clock today. Great story about the potential for SAMRI, Pfizer and partners here in South Australia to get together to do something that no one else in the country can or is doing. That is manufacturing mRNA vaccines like Moderna and Pfizer and others, meaning we could have our own sovereign capability right here in South Australia. We'll talk about that shortly. Right now we're flashing back with Michael Smith from 7 News. Michael, good morning to you.
Good morning, Will and Dave. We have a rubbish flashback for you today, and quite literally it's all about rubbish, because we're looking at the way that South Australia has led the nation in terms of environmental campaigns and initiatives. 1977, we were the first state to introduce container deposit legislation. A couple of weeks ago, the Vic said they're going to do it in 2023.
It was the Dunstan government that did it, wasn't it, Michael?
Yeah, it was about 4 or 5 cents that you got back on your bottles then. Of course, it was expanded about 10 years ago to include milk carton containers, those sort of things. But it's amazing to think that some other states still don't have it or have only introduced it very recently. We're, of course, also the first state to ban plastic shopping bags. That was way back in 2009.
Mike Rand?
Yeah, a lot of opposition at the time, but you wouldn't even think of using a plastic shopping bag now, would you?
I get the odd one.
Yeah. Not only do I think of it, I ended up paying for it, actually, Michael.
But it's a disincentive. A lot of people bulk at it. I reckon probably 50-50 at the shops when you see people doing a bigger shop. A lot of them have got bags that they bring in.
What you do see that you never would have seen once upon a time is when people are getting 6 items, I'll just carry them all back to the car.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Because you never would have seen once, and maybe that's the whole point.
I'll tell you what you don't see in Adelaide. You don't see a body of water like the Cooks River in Sydney that is just filled with bottles. Like, that is disgusting, the Cooks River. And for a lot of people, you can actually make pretty good money. Certainly a lot of kids get into it too. You go down to like the dump at Theberton there, and is it near Denron Metals? The recycling place there is always doing a roaring trade, particularly after Christmas when everyone's been on the stubbies.
And a huge impact for organisations like Scouts and things that really help them spin money over the years. Of course, KeySab's really been at the front of a lot of this. It started up as an anti-littering organisation back in the 60s. Have a listen to this jingle you might remember. This is from the 70s when the Channel 7 Tidy Terror used to roam our beaches getting people to clean up after themselves.
You don't want to be the one to spoil somebody's fun, so come on, pick it up, put it in. Use your head, use a bin. Pick it up, put it in. You don't want to be the one to spoil somebody's somebody's fun. Use your head, use a bin.
The other campaign you might remember is Drop Something Sport.
Oh, yeah, people used to say that out of the car.
And
that was the ad, wasn't it? There was a guy looking out the car and someone threw a can out the window and he went, drop something sport.
Yeah, so you're really encouraged to go up to people who are littering saying drop something sport.
It was basically an ad encouraging vigilantism.
Yeah, in a nice sort of way.
Yeah, in an Adelaide way.
They had other people like the late David Hook's fronting campaign showing you how to put out your rubbish bin properly. Jack Thompson, all sorts of prominent people. We've changed our habits a lot in the last 40 years. And, of course, now we've got this ban on plastic cutlery, single-use plastics, which has just been introduced, probably going to be expanded later this year. And interestingly, they're looking at changing the container deposit legislation to include things like wine bottles. It's amazing they haven't been included to this point. So leading the way still here in 2021.
Good on you, Michael.
Thanks,
Michael
Michael
Smith for 7 News with Flashback. Check it out on 7 News. 20 to 7. Just have a look at some of them. We're getting some terrific texts through on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line at the moment.
One here about the discussion around Scott Lysett. Morning, Will and Dave. Maybe the answer is that all players have a strip on their jumpers which stipulates their body weight. Easy. That's from Paul in Onkaparinga Hills.
Maybe instead of their number.
Yeah. On the back, 103.
Oh, I can tackle hard.
Yeah.
67, I'll take it easy.
That's right, exactly. You'd probably get a lot of 92s though, wouldn't you?
That's true.
Yeah. One here just reflecting on how horrible the Paul Lincoln story is about the boy losing his life and also the truck driver being so devastated. Mark in Para Hills, he says the key question is why were they there? Absolutely, that is the question. Guy in Highgate, I agree with this. Good morning all, welcome to Groundhog Day. Another COVID leakage from a Medi hotel, this time from Adelaide. 19 leakages from Capital City Hotel since the Adelaide Peppers leakages last November. Yet again, no plans to build a purpose-built facility by the feds. No leadership by Scott Morrison on this issue. The leaks will continue and the shutdowns will continue to disrupt businesses and people's travel plans. Bloody pathetic. Thank you for that, Guy.
Well said. 18 minutes to 7. Let's check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal on 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
Good morning. Roads looking really good this morning, which is excellent. Brighton Road flowing well from Seacombe Road to Sturt Road, and at Vale Park, North East Road flowing well from Wellington Street to Ascot Avenue. Roadworks to look out for today. Cravers on the freeway. The right-hand lane is closed from Measdays Bridge. That's city-bound as well as outbound from Mount Osmond Bridge. And a couple of speed cameras this morning. Bagot Avenue, Cowandilla, and Bartley Terrace at Westlake Shore. For the fourth consecutive year, the Volvo XC60 wins Drive Car of the Year 2021, Best Medium Luxury SUV. Find out more at your nearest Volvo dealer. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Hi, it's Elise Knowles here. The first ever Australian Made Week kicks off on the 24th of May. It's a time to celebrate and support Australia's local makers and growers. When you buy authentic Aussie products with the Australian Made logo, the famous green and gold kangaroo, you're giving back to local manufacturers and farmers. It also helps boost our economy, supports local business and creates Aussie jobs. So, go on, buy something genuinely Aussie for Australian Made Week, because Australian Made makes Australia. Visit australianmadeweek.com.au.
Well, right now we're joined by Joe, who's going to talk about all things Arbor Vitae. With its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties, it is proving very popular. Isn't that right, Joe?
That's right, Lee. More and more people are experiencing the benefits of using Arbor Vitae, and it's just wonderful.
Can you talk us through what are the benefits that people are experiencing when they use Arbor Vitae?
Well, it does somewhat depend on which Arbor Vitae bottle is right for you. There's Arbor Vitae Health and Wellbeing Supplement, which may help maintain healthy blood glucose and cholesterol levels and support heart and cardiovascular health. And Arbor Vitae Joint Health, which may provide relief from the symptoms of mild arthritis. So we're talking joint pain, inflammation, soreness, stiffness, and mobility.
Hey Joe, now it's winter. Arbor Vitae may help to improve your immune function?
Yes, you're right, Lee. Your immune system is important to help fight colds and flu, and Arbor Vitae supports the health and function of your immune system.
Thanks so much for that, Joe. There you have it. Lots of benefits to using Arbor Vitae. You can find Arbor Vitae in chemists and health food stores all over Adelaide. Go to arborvitae.com.au for a full list of their stockists, or you can buy it online direct, or give the Arbor Vitae team a call on 1300 879 863. And remember, always follow the directions for use. This medicine may not be right for you. Read the label before purchase. If symptoms persist, talk to your health professional.
This July, a world premiere event. Eclipse. Pink Floyd orchestrated. Southern Cross Symphony and an ensemble of Australia's finest rock musicians reignite the awe-inspiring sound of Pink Floyd in all its glory. 40 musicians and singers perform all the hits, Us and Them, Comfortably Numb, and Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Saturday, July 17 at Festival Theatre. Book now at Bass.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
15 to 7, time to check in with SAPOL. Senior Constable Kylie Simpson's on the line. Morning to you, Kylie.
Good morning.
Now, a man's been arrested after a smash and grab at a jewellery store.
That's right. This was really good work by the police security officers and Hindley patrols that have led to this arrest. So just after 11 last night, the PSSB camera operator saw a man smashing the window of a jewellery store in Rundle Mall. He quickly alerted the patrol, who responded pretty quickly, and after a very small, short foot chase, they arrested the man on King William Street. So 25-year-old man from the Northern Territory. He was actually in possession of the jewellery at the time. He's been charged with serious criminal trespass, property damage, theft and hinder police. He's been refused police bail and is expected to appear in court today.
Good result. Also, Kylie, a survey at Salisbury Downs was held up last night.
That's right, very frightening, obviously, for the console operator. So just after 8:30, a man entered a service station on Salisbury Highway. He was armed with a knife and threatened the console attendant before fleeing on foot. He had a small amount of cash with him. He's described as being about 20 years, wearing dark clothing, carrying a black Nike backpack. We've actually released an image of him, which is on our website at the moment. You can see his clothing quite distinctively. So anyone who has any information is asked to contact Crime Stoppers, please, on 1800 333 000.
Good on you, Kylie. Senior Constable Kylie Simpson from SAPOL. Let's talk about the weather. Vince Rowland, Senior Forecaster at the Bureau. Vince, how cold did it get overnight? Felt chilly waking up this morning.
Yeah, it was pretty cold. Here in the city, we got down to 5.1 degrees. A bit cooler out in the northern suburbs. We've got 3.5 at Parafield. Just north of the city, Norrie got down to 1.1. So, yeah, the further north you went, the colder it got. And up in the hills, Mount Lofty, we got down to 4.4. So, yeah, very chilly start to the day. Not quite cold enough to get frost, but, yeah, cold enough start to the day regardless. But we have a little bit of cloud around this morning. That should break up a little bit later this morning, and then we're heading for a mostly sunny day, a top of 17 degrees with pretty much just light winds all day across the city. A little bit cooler up in the hills and around the coastal fringes with Glenelg, Nollunga and Mount Barker all going for 16 degrees. Now, as we head into tomorrow, a little bit warmer overnight, going down to a low of 9 degrees. And we do have a frontal feature that is going to move across the south of the state tomorrow. So we're likely to see some showers developing during the sort of latter part of the morning into the early afternoon. Not expecting too much in it as far as rainfall goes, just another little bit of a top-up. So up to about 3 millimetres across the metro area, and likely to see about double that up in the hills. But those showers are continuing through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, just on and off, not much in it on either of the days, just up to 1 millimetre or 2, particularly on Friday. And we've got 17 degrees forecast for all those days, so from Thursday right through to Sunday, not much change in temperature, around 17 degrees. But then on Monday and Tuesday, we are expecting conditions to fine up and tops of around 18 degrees. So, yeah, pretty nice day today, and then a little bit of shower activity over the next few days before we head into next week.
Beautiful. Good on you, Vince. Senior Forecaster Vince Rowlands at the Weather Bureau. You know, it just struck me looking at our rundown for this half hour. We're featuring a couple of stories that are really South Australian firsts. Where we're leading the way. Recycling with Michael Smith flashing back. And in a moment, we're going to be talking about the prospect to manufacture mRNA vaccines here in South Australia, something nowhere else is doing, can do at this point in time. It's a fantastic story. It leads the Australian this morning on the day after the federal budget. We'll get to the details of that. But I just wonder, what other things can people think of that South Australia were first at? 8223 0000. Let us know.
The idea of being the first city in Australia that has the capacity to produce these synthetic vaccines, you can actually take it back to Florey and his pioneering work in discovering penicillin. That's why it feels like such a perfect fit. And it also feels like in the post-Mitsubishi, post-Chrysler, post-Holden era, what is advanced manufacturing? That is a term that you hear so much. I would have thought mass-producing pills made under licence for international pharmaceutical giants, that's exactly the sort of thing we should be getting into.
8223 is the number. We're celebrating what we hope is another South Australian first. What else were we first to do? Give us a call and we'll get into this latest and really exciting story in a moment.
If you want to build a new home, something that reflects you and your lifestyle, speak with Beechwood Homes. And just so you know, they won't try and sell you a house plan. In fact, there's no house plans until you tell them what you want. So go for it. Start thinking of all the possibilities or get in touch with Beechwood Homes for a few thought starters. Life's good. It's even better in a Beechwood home. For inspiration, visit the stunning Beechwood Homes display home in Blackwood Park.
Is it time to update your air? Today's Mitsubishi Electric reverse cycle air conditioners provide up to 5-star heating performance. Now that is impressive. Plus, for a limited time, you can cash in with a bonus gift card when you purchase a select Mitsubishi Electric split or ducted system. Terms and conditions apply. For all the info, visit mitsubishielectric.com.au or pop into your local Mitsubishi Electric dealer and ask about our bonus gift card offer. Mitsubishi Electric. Works for me.
Ready for adventure? Dave Benson Caravans have over 120 caravans and campers ready for your next one. With overseas travel off the cards for a while, invest your holiday dollars in a DBC caravan. Your valued dollars don't disappear. They remain in the asset of your luxury van. And you get to enjoy a holiday, seeing Australia's beauty. Come see the caravan specialists at Dave Benson Caravans to tailor your dream holiday on wheels. Your adventure begins here. 64 Grand Junction Road, Kilburn.
So why go with NRG Solar?
The reason why we became an NRG Solar customer was because primarily we trusted Michael, and we've seen a lot of stuff on the internet about how cheap and nasty some of the goods were and some of the services. And Michael explained to us what NRG Solar did, and it seemed to us the logical way to go. We didn't seek other quotes because we were very trusting of Michael's expertise and that of the implementers of the system.
Visit nrgsolar.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 to 7, it's been a good 12 hours in news for South Australia. We've got an extra $1 billion in GST windfall following the federal budget, but I think this story tops it. The prospect that Australia could have its own sovereign vaccine creating capacity, so much so that we would become entirely self-reliant, making the full suite of vaccines, those like AstraZeneca, built from dead virus cells, to those that are entirely synthetic, like Moderna and Pfizer. That particular iteration, the mRNA virus, is what we'd be vaccine is what we'd be talking about making here in South Australia. If this really exciting partnership gets up that David detailed in a column in the Oz this morning. Professor Anton Middelberg is the University of Adelaide's Deputy Vice-Chancellor and joins us to talk about the prospect of this taking place. Professor, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning.
Great to be chatting to you again, Professor Middelberg. So you had a really good point yesterday. I like the turn of phrase you used about how if we had this capacity, we had it now, not only would it potentially revolutionise the way we deal with COVID-19, but you said when COVID-23 in the event, touch wood, that it doesn't happen, but in the event that COVID-23 comes along or some other nasty bug down the track, we'll be able to go, all right, we know how to do this, and we'd be at the front of the vaccine queue rather than the end.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting technology, mRNA vaccines. It works very differently to traditional vaccines in terms of the way you manufacture it. The mRNA is actually, it's a piece of information encoded into a molecule. And you can change the information encoded in that molecule much more quickly than you can change conventional vaccines. And so, you know, in very short time, within a month or two, you could actually code up an entirely new vaccine. And because you're using something called an E. coli cell, it's an industrial organism used to make things at very large scale, you can then chuck out a lot of this vaccine actually very quickly. So within a couple of months, you could create enough vaccine in response to a new threat to actually immunise the entire Australian population.
The thing that fascinated me, I've got to admit, I reckon like most South Australians, I didn't even know that this Pfizer plant was there. Amazing foresight for the uni to partner up with FIVEaa, the American company, with the support of SAMRI as well, and to get your hands on the plant. But I guess the good thing is, if you're thinking about starting any type of business, the setup costs, the initial approval, finding a location, all of that is probably like a 2 to 3 year handbrake on actually getting down to brass tacks and doing what it is that you intend to do. So that gives us a huge head start having the plant, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the plant itself was rebuilt completely in 2016 and got full regulatory approval. And that approval actually takes a few years. Now, it's approved for the sort of technology you need to make mRNA vaccines. And so what that means is you can reconfigure that very quickly and streamline all the approvals needed, because ultimately you're going to make something that's going to be injected into people. So the safety and the quality profiles are key, and the experienced workforce to actually make that is a non-trivial skill base that you need. So that's all been in place since 2016, and taking it from its current sort of product manufacture to make these mRNA technologies is a relatively low hurdle, certainly in a regulatory sense. So that means you can really hit the ground running and pivot the technology very quickly toward this completely new class of vaccines that has emerged in response to COVID.
Sounds like there's still an outstanding funding question to realise this concept. Who's the natural partner? Is it the state government, federal government? Could it be privately? Could you privately source funding?
I think the company FIVEaa is looking at all those options. Ultimately, you know, there needs to be a market for these COVID vaccines. As you said earlier, COVID-23 is not a thing, but it could be a thing. And so there's actually no market at the moment for COVID-23 vaccines. And so I think the market failure is quite clear. We need to invest some capital in conjunction with whatever sources are available and build a research and training program to pre-position ourselves toward, you know, really addressing the next threat that comes over the hill, while also accelerating our work around COVID-19, of course.
I guess too, though, Professor, the applications don't just stop at the coronavirus, do they? Because talking to the people at SAMRI yesterday for the story, they were saying that there's cancer treatment issues and all sorts of other things that could require this type of production.
Yeah, that's right. And you were asking earlier, you know, in the lead up, what other Adelaide firsts are there? Well, we've actually just, the university recently, in conjunction with Callan and with our colleagues in SAMRI, is setting up an $80 million cancer institute as well, looking at new modalities of treating cancer. And that's a funding from the federal government in the last year. It turns out that actually mRNA has probably got a significant future in treating cancers as well. And so if we create this advanced manufacturing facility in South Australia, it's likely to be not just useful for COVID, but for a range of therapeutics going forward. No one really expected, I think, mRNA vaccines and mRNA technology to work as effectively as has been shown in the context of COVID-19.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff, and we think we're genuinely excited about it. And, you know, as journos, whatever role we can play in rattling the can in the direction of the state government, the federal government, the private sector, just sing out, because we think that this is a total example of the type of the advanced manufacturing, science-driven manufacturing of the future that can help really give our state a completely new identity, which, as the state of, you know, Bragg and Florey and what have you, is sort of rooted well and truly in our past. Fascinating chatting to you, Professor. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Professor Anton Middleburg, University of Adelaide, Deputy Vice-Chancellor. I would say the state government just did suddenly come into an extra $1 billion in its pocket. You can do worse than kicking 60 or 100 million into a scheme like
100%.
this. Joe at Modbury North, you've got a South Australian first.
Hey, g'day, boys. How you going?
Good, thanks, Joe.
Oh, look, I reckon South Australia, the first thing they done, probably not as the best in Australia, but the best in the world, was a one-way freeway.
Well, yeah, it was. We called it the first in the world.
It was revolutionary.
Was it also the last in the world?
I think it was.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Joe. Lots of texts as well.
Adam in Whyalla says SA had the first ever drive-through bottle shop. From memory, it was the one at the Largs Pier. Is that true?
I did not know
Drive-throughs. How good are drive-throughs?
Yeah.
I like the browse lane. I like the express lane, if you know what you want.
It's all beautifully organised.
I was down at the lakes the other day, picked up a 6-pack of Bud. Got very plebeian beer taste, quite like the watery quality of American beer. But, yeah, it's a terrific thing, the drive-through. And Sue says SA was the first state to have a nudist beach down at Maslin's. However, it would probably be a bit cold down there today.
Certainly would be.
Certainly would, Sue.
Good on you,
give
Sue.
An excuse, of course.
Telstra Stormap Barker text line 0448081395. We're going to have our full budget wrap and tell you how it affects South Australia right after this.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Mostly sunny, 17 today with the 7 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Keep your body in shape with FIVEaa Extra Clinical Pilates and group exercise classes. PhysioExtra.com.
Treasurer Josh Frydenberg is out and about this morning selling his federal budget, tipped to be his final economic blueprint before the next trip to the polls. Massive spending measures have been outlined in a bid to drive the unemployment rate below 5%. Free, cheap courses to target skills gaps are on the agenda. More than $500 million will be spent over 2 years, extending the job trainer program for school leavers, young people and the unemployed. States and territories will be required to match the funding. ACTU President Michelle O'Neill says the federal government has missed an opportunity by failing to mention the TAFE system.
Instead, what the government is doing is putting money into privatised training, where money could end up in the pockets of business owners instead of going into the quality training that we get through our public TAFE system.
There's almost $18 million for aged care. That includes 80,000 new home care packages and 33,000 training places. Council of the Ageing Chief Executive Jane Musseret says it's good news.
This is a very substantial, meaningful contribution to the problems outlined in the Royal Commission Aged Care. It is very important when a government commissions a Royal Commission that it is ready to respond and respond substantially, and this is a substantial response.
Better GST payments than originally expected have been welcomed by the state opposition, but Shadow Treasurer Stephen Mulligan has a few questions.
This GST windfall shows that the national economy is performing really strongly, but the question remains, if the national economy is flying ahead, why is South Australia stuck with the highest unemployment rate and the lowest economic growth?
A jewellery store was targeted late last night in the city. Senior Constable Kylie Simpson says just after 11, a man smashed the window of a Rundle Mall shop and grabbed several items.
After a very small foot chase, they arrested the man on King William Street. So 25-year-old man from the Northern Territory. He was actually in possession of the jewellery at the time. He's been charged with serious criminal trespass, property damage, theft and hinder police.
He's been refused bail and will front court today. There's been an armed hold-up at a northern suburbs service station. A man entered the outlet on the Salisbury Highway at Salisbury Downs just after 8:30 last night. He threatened the console operator with a small knife before running off with cash. Victorian health authorities have completed their initial interviews with a man who tested positive for coronavirus after finishing hotel quarantine in Adelaide. The man in his 30s recently returned to Australia from overseas and completed his 14 days mandatory quarantine here before returning to Victoria. The Queen has been accompanied by Prince Charles for her first in-person engagement since the death of Prince Philip. The 95-year-old has opened the British Parliament by reading the traditional speech written for her by the government, outlining its legislative agenda for the next year. Her Majesty says recovery from the COVID pandemic is key.
My government will protect the health of the nation, continuing the vaccination program and providing additional funding to support the NHS.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
Not good news for Port Adelaide, Tom Wren.
No, not at all, Mel. Unfortunately, they've been dealt a big blow with ruckman Scott Lycett set to miss football until round 14. He's been slapped with a 4-game suspension, now a bye's thrown in amongst that run of matches. Let's stick with footy. Carlton star Eddie Betts has revealed he made a pact with his wife in his mid-20s to avoid late nights with alcohol, crediting the decision with saving his career. Speaking on Fox Footy's AFL 360, 2 Richmond players got into trouble at a nightclub. Betts says he reached a turning point years back after a night out.
My past experience, I think I was 26 and I got arrested in the CBD for drunk and disorderly. Me and my wife sat down and we spoke about how do we minimise putting yourself at risk in those situations, and we kind of said, nothing really good happens after 12, 1 o'clock.
Meantime, another blow for the Power, with veteran Tom Rockcliffe recovering from injuries in both knees and now hospitalised with deep vein thrombosis. And expansion plans and the timing of the AFLW season will be on top of the agenda at today's AFL Commission meeting. To soccer, Manchester City are English Premier League champions for a third time in 4 seasons after Manchester United went down 2-1 against Leicester. One other game this morning with Southampton 3-1 winners over Crystal Palace. Briefly elsewhere, the Adelaide 36ers have suffered a 5-point loss against the Illawarra Hawks in the NBL. And New York Yankees third base coach Phil Nevin has tested positive for COVID-19. The case even more concerning given the team had announced he'd been fully vaccinated. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
Good morning. Crafers on the freeway. The right-hand lane is closed from Measdays Bridge citybound, as well as outbound from Mount Osmond Bridge. Getting busy Main North Road approaching Kings Road for works there, and roadworks to look out for today. Anglevale Road near Heathslip Road for water main works, and at Warradale there's some asphalt works. That's at Diagonal Road near Dunrobin Road. Couple of speed cameras this morning. Caulfield Avenue, Clarence Gardens, and Dawes Road at Ascot Park. At Professionals Real Estate, they believe that the true value of any home is the life inside. For a free Professionals property appraisal, visit professionals.com.au today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
Mostly sunny for your Wednesday, 17. Showers tomorrow, 17. Friday, a possible shower, 17. Right now it's 7 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
In the last hour on Adelaide's 5AA.
Some of the old-fashioned AstraZeneca. How'd you find the whole process?
You've got to fill in a long form. You've got to write your Medicare number down 3 times. Batch number DV46672. Dose 1, date 11/5/21.
That was a good bat.
Syringe used by date 11 May 2021.
I think you're asking the perennial question, is it used by or best before? Jobs at the centre of the budget. The unemployment rate tipped to fall below 5%. It's nice to see a forecast of an increase to employment, because usually we hear all the words around, this is a budget that's going to create jobs. Then you look at the bit that says unemployment rate forecast, employment rate change, and it's unchanged.
Yeah.
Anyway, hang on, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You don't even believe that.
Like it's a pro-jobs budget. So, well, okay, where are the jobs?
The prospect that Australia could have its own sovereign vaccine creating capacity. Professor Anton Middleberg is the University of Adelaide's Deputy Vice-Chancellor.
The mRNA is actually a piece of information encoded into a molecule, and you can change the information encoded in that molecule much more quickly than you can change conventional vaccines.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 after 7, it's the morning after the federal budget, and we're here to tell you how it will affect South Australia, the key industries here in South Australia. We wanted to do something a little bit different this year, though. So what we thought we'd do is get together a list of the most prominent spokesperson on behalf of industries and interest groups here in this fine state. Get them to 1, just rank the budget out of 10. Give us a sense what that group thinks of the budget. And then in 60 seconds, or 45 to 60 seconds, tell us why they've given it that score.
It's like budget speed dating.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except, I mean, it's not our expectation that any of the people coming on are going to end up having dinner together.
Oh.
But maybe it was yours, Will.
No, of course not.
I tell you what, they're all on the line. They're going to be thinking, what have we got ourselves into
Let's
here?
get down to serious business. We'll start with somebody we had a terrific chat with, in fact, in the lead-up to the budget. Rebecca Pickering's the CEO of the Civil Contractors Federation of South Australia. And Rebecca, how did you score the budget once you've seen it?
So, morning, Dave. Morning, Will. We're looking at the budget at about an 8 out of 10 at the moment for us.
Ooh.
Again, as discussed on Monday, great to see those projects that we've had on the radar for some time. It does look like there is that funding increase, which is great. It'd be good to see some more of that detail when it becomes available. Interested to understand if those commitments made are in addition to or inclusive of previous announcements made. So we'll keep an eye on that. I guess why it's not a 10 out of 10 for us, it's about a slight or perhaps minor omission for South Australia with the Major Project Business Case Fund. This is a fund that facilitates each state to produce business cases for projects, from 5 to 10 years from now. And we appear to have no funding in that space at all, which may suggest why we don't have new projects, coming our way more often.
Great summation, Rebecca. Thank you for that. Strong 8 out of 10 for the federal budget from the Civil Contractors Federation. Jane Musred is the CEO of the Council on the Ageing. Big feature piece of the budget was on aged care. Jane, what did you score it and why?
So we've given it about a 7 out of 10 for aged care. It is a very substantial, very meaningful first response to the Royal Commission. The highlight is the 80,000 new home care places over 2 years. That cuts that waiting list that has been so unacceptable and inhumane for older South Australians. Importantly, backed up by 33,000 training places. We will be keeping an eye on that and making sure that some of those are supporting employment in aged care in our regions. It's very important they're not left behind. For us, the big miss is still the lack of address of low-income housing for older people who are renting. There are 10,000 in South Australia. We must get address of that from our federal and state governments.
Thank you, Jane. 7 out of 10. Get another solid score for the federal budget. Let's go to the University of Sydney childcare and gender work expert, Associate Professor Elizabeth Hill. Lots was spoken about last night in Josh Frydenberg's speech about women and families. Associate Professor, how did you score the federal budget?
Yeah, lots of talk. Good morning. I'd give it on balance, the whole budget, a 7 out of 10, but much lower at 5 out of 10 for its impact on women's economic security. I think there's some worthwhile initiatives that keep the foot on the stimulus pedal that will promote employment and economic activity as we recover from the worst of the COVID-induced economic downturn. And the new investment in social infrastructure like aged care, disability and childcare services is positive. But the structural reform required to deliver women the opportunity for long-term economic security and set them on an equal footing with men in the labour market, well, that's missing. Particularly key gender equality measures are missing in this budget. For example, an extension and redesign of the National Paid Parental Leave system so it can support fathers and mothers to care for the new babies, and also a bolder move towards universal access for low or free early childhood education and care is missing. So 5 out of 10 for women's economic security, but on balance, 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's good. Thank you for that. Associate Professor Elizabeth Hill from the University of Sydney. Martin Hayes is the CEO of Business SA. Martin, what did you grade it?
Good morning, Penberthy and Will. We'd grade that at a 7.5 out of 10. It was a solid budget. It's a eye-watering level of debt, but nonetheless, it is a solid budget. We see that there is now clarity about rollout of the vaccine. That's good for South Australia. That's good for all Australians. The extension of the wage subsidy for apprentices. Now, this is absolutely key. For that to be extended for a further 6 months from September through to March 2022 now gives employers a lot more surety about taking on an apprentice. And addressing the skills gap in South Australia must be one of the highest priorities to really get the economy moving. Also, the extension of temporary expensing so that when businesses buy an asset, they can effectively write it off in the year in which they buy it. That's been extended through to 2023. That's very positive. And regional infrastructure. So good to see some money allocated towards the Augusta Highway, the completion of South Road. Those major infrastructure projects are just good for getting people around, but also getting freight around. So 7.5 out of 10.
Good on you, Martin. Thank you for that. CEO of Business SA, Martin Hazy. Now, there was a bit of new expenditure in the realm of mental health. Jeff Harris is from the Mental Health Coalition of SA. Was it enough to get a good mark from you, Jeff?
Good morning. Maybe I'm a hard marker, but I gave it 5 out of 10. That's because it's only halfway where we need to go. There are a number of good initiatives, as you would have heard, that are really welcome. So increased support for people leaving hospital after presenting for suicide risk, as well as some new mental health centres. These investments represent some small steps to implementing the Productivity Commission report on mental health, and that's what we need to focus on at a federal level. So it falls short around addressing the 80% of unmet need for mental health support in the community, and that's the kind of support that helps people rebuild their lives and avoid emergency department presentation. And it's also not addressing the mental health needs of people who are not quite sick enough to go to hospital, but need a bit more than a limited number of visits to the GP, psychologist or psychiatrist.
Good on you, Jeff. Well
Great
said.
rap from everyone. Well done, everyone.
It certainly was. We've got a nice suite of grades and concerns and plaudits too that the various groups had for the federal budget. How would you scored it? It's harder to just do an overall score than a specific interest group score. But
I'd probably say it was about 7 out of 10. I think that It's any document that is predicated on the creation of 250,000 jobs at a time when so many people have suffered dislocation and loss of income as a result of COVID is welcome. I think the aged care stuff is good too, as Jane Muzzard from CODA said. I share Rebecca Pickering's concerns about, where the rubber hits the road with some of the spending on these projects, which I guess is up to the state government, not the feds. I just think that after what we've been through as a nation, do we need something a bit more overarching and ambitious and visionary than just a giant stack of dough? And that's where, I mean, to hark back to the thing I'm most excited about today, which is the interview we just did at 10 to 7 with Professor Anton Middelberg. I think things like this vaccine self-reliance pitch that Adelaide Uni and Biocena are working on, that's the kind of stuff that there's a role for government to go, all right, what's the country going to look like post-pandemic? What are the things we can do? And debt mould is the best local example of it. A year ago, we're going, hell, how do we get masks? And it's like, well, we make masks. So at a time when China's increasingly turning its back on it, when we're going to need new markets and all that, what's Australia going to look like in 20 years? I don't think that's the big gaping hole in this. Anyone can throw money around. I mean, you and I could have had a crack at this budget. I mean, you in particular will, because you actually understand how the economy works. So. But it's a bit sort of like going shopping with Elton John. It set records for spending, but where's the big vision bit?
Yeah.
Is that a fair criticism?
Yeah, I think it is, and it's probably similar to what my comment would be on the budget. Is that there are some great achievements in this budget, but I don't think any of the achievement is because of the budget. Things like being able to forecast unemployment at, say, 4.5% until 2025 is remarkable. That's better than we've been for a long, long time in Australia, and we've been better than we've been able to promise for a long, long time in Australia. But it feels to me like as much a byproduct of low interest rates as it does anything that the federal government has done. Similar to something like the achievement that suddenly the federal budget deficit is $52 billion lower than it would have otherwise been. Now, did they tighten the belt? No, not at all. Things happened like the iron ore price went up from what they forecast at $55 a tonne to over 200. Now, you do some back-of-the-napkin maths, that means they suddenly got $30 extra billion than they didn't expect. It's not quite that much, that's actually an oversimplification, but it's in that order of 20 to 30 billion for doing nothing. So a lot of the grand achievements...
Less credit to them, it's just like they've just won lotto in a couple of fronts.
I think a lot of the achievement in the budget, and there is achievement in it, but it's not necessarily of the federal government's making. 17 after 7, 8223 0000 is the number. You can text us on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line 204480 1395. We're going to check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal in 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles. Dave Potter Honda.
At Crafers on the freeway, the right-hand lane is closed from Crafers to the tunnels city-bound, as well as outbound from Mount Osmond. Getting busy Main North Road approaching Kings Road for works, and also quite sluggish this morning South Road and Anzac Highway. Roadworks to look out for at Warradale. They're doing some asphalt works on Dargnall Road near Dunrobin Road, and speed cameras this morning. Caulfield Avenue, Clarence Gardens, and Dawes Road at Melrose Park. Get ready for the blockbuster big screen action. Angelina Jolie returns to the screen in Those Who Wish Me Dead this weekend. Don't miss Those Who Wish Me Dead, only in cinemas tomorrow. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Leon Biner.
South Australians are going to be given a vote on extended shopping hours put to the Parliament by the state government. The CEO of Business SA, Martin Hazy, where do you stand on this?
9 till 12 weekdays.
We want to see South Australia grow, we want to see it prosper, but we don't want that at the expense of business owners locally, so we'd just like to see some rigour by the government.
SSA as Leon Biner.
Why would you expect this to be more favourable to South Australia?
SSA as AA.
Varlo. It means light. The perfect description of the new light-filled apartments at West, with views of Linear Park and the Grange Golf Club. Cycle or stroll Linear Park, play a round of golf, paddle on the lake, grab a coffee on Charles Street or hit the beach. Whether you're staying in or going out, Varlo at West has it all. But you better be quick. Over 50% have already been sold. Don't miss out. Bring your dreams to light at Varlo. Visit varlowest.com.au.
So you've got a will. That's good. But do you know where it is? Or when it was updated last? Have your circumstances changed? An old or poorly thought out will can leave problems for your family and those you love. And it can be expensive to sort out. Don't let that be your legacy. From the simplest to the most complex wills and estate plans, you can trust Donlan Lawyers to help carry out your wishes. Wills and estate planning? Visit donlanlawyers.com.
For over 36 years, Steinborner certified cars has always exceeded expectations on value, service and selection, and that continues. That's why it's always well worth a trip to Steinborner certified cars in Gawler, Nuriutpa and Clare for great deals on new and demo Hyundai, Ford and Mitsubishis, plus SA's biggest and best range of used cars. Make the trip to one of Steinborner's 8 dealerships or view the whole range of cars now at steinborner.com.au and join the thousands who know. Steinborner certified cars. It's well worth the trip.
Here's your cuppa, Bev.
Thanks, Barry. Looks like the neighbours are clearing out early.
Bev and Barry are grey nomads. They love a roadside campsite, a cuppa in the morning, and watching the other adventurers come and go.
Hey, Barry, looks like they're getting pretty close to that tree.
Oh, they'll need to visit Walker Crash Repairs, Bev. You can always relax on the road with Walker Crash Repairs, an RAA-approved crash repairer for caravans and cars.
Hey, guess what I'm thinking?
Again? I guess we could make it a quickie.
Okay.
Actually, it's such a nice night. We should do it on the deck.
Yeah. The quick and easy new twists to old family favourites. Just get some pork on your fork.
If you're building a new home, you know what it's like. A million things on the go. Bob Burns Blinds can make one part of your build the easiest part with stunning interior curtains and blinds and outdoor blinds. Whether you have the keys in your hand or just have the plans, one call, Bob Burns Blinds.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
22 minutes after 7. Big shout out to Brooklyn, who's out there working the cameras for the 5AA Facebook and YouTube live stream this morning. If you just watched our budget wrap, you'll have noted every graph and chart and piece of information you needed was up on the screen. So
it's superb.
It's always worth tuning into the live stream each and every morning on 5AA Breakfast, because it's not just vision of us. Often it'll be very useful stuff too. So make sure you add it to your routine throughout the morning. 8223 is our number. You can text us on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. Greg, the sales rep, says, "Morning, gents. Tell me why our politicians can't give low-wage earners the high-end tax cuts. It's all about face. The fat cats get fatter." Thank you, Greg. Someone else said, with jobs, boys, you work 1 hour and you're considered employed. This is a joke. And unemployment in the 4% world. Yeah, well, it's always been thus, but we haven't been able to achieve 4% before. So, well, for a long, long time at very least. So, yeah, it's an imperfect metric, but it's the best we have at the moment. And it's not an unreasonable way to mark achievement on the jobs front. 22 minutes after 7. Now, today, I've been reliably informed by Andy Razion, our executive producer, Homer Simpson was born May the 12th, 1956. So he's 65 years old today.
He seems ageless, doesn't he?
He
first
really
Simpsons
does.
Episode in, 1990?
To mark the occasion, we've got an Andy's list. Top 5 sitcoms of all time. Number 5.
But he's the one what's driving me berserk. Why do only fools and horses work? La la la.
Only fools and horses.
That's right.
I never saw that.
Number 4.
And if you have lost both legs and both arms, just go, at least I'm not dead. I'd rather be dead in that situation, to be honest. I'm not saying people like that should be, put down. I'm saying that in my life, I'd rather not live without arms and legs because, I'm just getting into yoga.
That was Ricky Gervais in The Office.
Ricky Gervais in The Office.
God.
I think it's one of the great comedies of all time.
It's often unwatchable, though, The Office, isn't it? You're just going, oh.
Well, that's his whole brand of humour is that it's cringeworthy. It makes your skin crawl. It's so awkward.
What about the episode where he's talking about how his inspiration in life is Ian Botham?
Oh,
I've watched it so many times on YouTube.
Number 3 in Andy's list.
Here's what I think of your selection
You
policy.
wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name.
Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
That's a noble inclusion. I'll tell you what, Andy, if Friends is on this list, I'm coming in your office and attacking you physically.
All right, here's number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Seinfeld at number 2 on Andy's list. Number 1 on the list is...
You'll laugh at... Leave her alone. No, this is a street. I mean, I've never seen anyone not laugh at this. Look, she'll love it. She's German.
No, Mr. Walker.
What?
Do Jimmy Cagney instead.
What?
Jimmy Cagney.
Jimmy Cagney?
No, go Danny Rand.
I can't do Jimmy Cagney.
Please try. I'm going to get
Shut up. Here, watch. Who's this then? Stuff you, but I'll do the funny walk.
Faulty Towers, number 1 on Andy's list.
You know, I think Andy and I almost feel like giving him a hug. It's taken us a few goes, but he has finally achieved true list greatness. That was a superb list.
25 minutes after 7. Let's turn our attention to sport. Thanks to North Point Toyota. Used vehicle stock always changing. North Point Toyota, Hillcrest, Prospect and Port Augusta. It is the North Point way. The Scott Lycett tackle's been the biggest story in town. We now know he got 4 weeks for his tackle that concussed Crow Ned McHenry. Last night on the sports show, Rowie and Warren Treadray got to debate the tackle itself.
How many for Scotty Lycett? He faces the tribunal as we speak.
Let's cut this CRAP.
Yeah.
You know what they're doing? They're arguing between 3 and 4.
That's all they're doing.
So if I'm the AFL and you want this to go away quickly, go put 3 in front of Scotty Lycett. He will sign it that quickly. He'll have him locked away. But I suspect it might end up 4 because it comes back to Adelaide's medical report, which we saw McHenry run today. But by all reports, he didn't pull up well. And you wouldn't because it was a brutal tackle.
It was a brutal
And I love the brutality of the tackle. The thing I didn't like, the fact he hits his head and gets concussed.
I agree.
The intent was to tackle and to tackle hard, not to knock him out.
He didn't intend
And
to
people
knock
who
him
say that, other than that, are full of it. And then the social media scumbags who want to threaten people's lives, they're even worse. That's just gutter. Like I know where your parents live. I know where your girlfriend...
Trolls, it's ridiculous.
So what Port Adelaide is saying their QC is the Neil Bullen tackle. So if you think of it with the Olympic hammer, because the heavy part is on the end of the chain as
I
opposed
see what
to
you
direct,
mean.
So you lose momentum.
There is greater force when you tackle Hamill by the jumper with extended arms. Therefore, he generated a greater level of severe impact.
Lucky you're here,
Leith.
He's an engineer. That's what Leith is. He's got all the words.
Well, we now know it was, in fact, the 4 weeks that Warren Treadray suspected. Port Adelaide have said they're disappointed. They're waiting. There may well be an appeal coming to try and knock it back to 3.
For the life of me, as we were saying to Tom earlier, I cannot understand how the AFL has entertained and accepted the fact put forward by its own lawyer that there's some sort of issue with a guy who weighs significantly more than another player tackling him. It is a contact sport. I mean, if with a precedence like this, can Caleb Daniel just run around not being tackled by anybody now?
Yeah, well, might be a whole new draft and recruiting strategy.
Yeah, it's like Barley's, like in the schoolyard. You know, no one's allowed to tackle me.
I've said it before, and I'm not sure that anyone cares but me, but I just, of all the sporting leagues in the world, the AFL seems to be the most enthusiastic about rubbing out and preventing the people that you go to watch from playing the sport as a way to change behaviour as opposed to just fines. Fines work really well. People don't like losing money. I don't know why it's always the supporters that get punished, especially when, now I know it's a different category of offence when it's something that doesn't belong on a football field, but a clumsy tackle is a tackle at its heart.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a football action done a little bit wrong. So why have fans and paying customers denied the right to see a bloke who's first pick and one of the best teams in the comp every week not play for 4 weeks? It just strikes me you're punishing the wrong people.
I think with the exception of those 2 Drongos Crow supporters who were trolling Lycett, and good on Treaders for calling him out the way that he did. Those people have got no place at our club as far as I'm concerned. I think most Crow supporters look at this and go, well, it's horrible that it happened, but it is sort of one of those things in footy, isn't it?
I think everyone would have been...
level-headed supporters would think that, wouldn't they?
Well, they would have said he deserves to be rubbed out, but I don't think they would have said 4 weeks.
No.
28 minutes after 7, more with Stephen Rowe tonight. Now that they do know what the verdict is, book your next service online, northpointtoyota.com.au. It is the North Point way. Sean Fuster will join us shortly to go round the courts.
Ray White Business Sales SA and Business SA. Both are experts at what they do, so they've formed an alliance to help you. Whether you're buying or selling a business or somewhere in between, they'll work together, making sure the business you're going to sell or buy is in top shape. Ray White Business Sales SA and Business SA. Experts in business support and sales. Ready to help you achieve your goals. Call them today 8300 0000.
Cashback.
Low rate.
Cashback.
Low rate.
Take out a new home loan with Credit Union SA and you get to choose cashback or a really low rate. Apply online, over the phone, in branch, or we'll come to you. Credit Union SA, like a bank, but better. For a limited time only, conditions, fees and lending criteria apply. Offer available for new business only where the LVR is 80% or less. Minimum loan amounts and exclusions apply to each offer.
Older people have rights to make their own decisions, to be safe and to be treated with dignity and respect. But right now in Australia, 1 in 20 older people are experiencing some form of abuse. Fear, sadness and neglect can be signs of elder abuse. For free confidential advice or to make a report, call 1800 372 310. To find out more, search SA Health Stop Elder Abuse. Spot the signs, speak up and help stop elder abuse. A message from the Government of South Australia.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Mostly sunny 17 today with the 7:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Trust Physio Extra. Norwood, Purie Street, Marion, Halla Cove, Seaford and Victor Harbour. PhysioExtra.com.
This year's federal budget has been broadly welcomed with big spending measures across most parts of the economy. Nine's Michael Packey reports.
Business groups say this budget is what's needed during a time of global turbulence. The money being spent on infrastructure, childcare and another tax cut for low and middle income earners will continue Australia's economic recovery by driving more jobs. Jennifer Westacott from the Business Council says the government has pulled the right levers.
Growth and getting people back to work bring you the social dividends of a strong budget.
But there's still a cautious approach to reopening international borders. The government is hoping it can get some foreign students back this year and open more broadly by the middle of next year. Tourism and Transport Forum Chief Executive Margie Osmond says it's not good enough.
This is a budget that leaves the tourism industry high and dry with nowhere to go.
The budget also includes $30 billion to boost aged care and disability services.
Treasurer Rob Lucas says there were positives for South Australia.
Clearly the national economic recovery post-COVID has been critically important. So whilst we'll still be receiving less GST than we were estimating pre-COVID, it's significantly more than in last year's budget that we expected to be. The pace of the national economic recovery has been very important for the nation, but also very important for South Australia in terms of prospective GST revenue that we'll get. So that's good news.
A man from the Northern Territory has been charged over a jewellery store robbery late last night. He allegedly smashed the window of a shop in Rundle Mall and grabbed several items. The 25-year-old was detained nearby. He's been refused bail and will front court today. Cash has been stolen from a service station at Salisbury Downs. The outlet on Salisbury Highway was hit by a man with a small knife around 8:30 last night. The hunt for the suspect continues, with police releasing CCTV images on their Facebook page. The hotel quarantine system is under a microscope again after a Victorian man tested positive to COVID after returning to Melbourne following 14 days at the Playford. The man tested negative upon his arrival from India. But questions remain over whether being housed in a room next to an infected person at the Medi Hotel played a part in his diagnosis. At least 7 children and a teacher have been killed in a school shooting east of Moscow. The BBC's Sarah Rainsford says it's prompted President Putin to order a review of civilian gun ownership.
The Interior Ministry there is saying that this was a lone attacker, one young man, a 19-year-old, we believe, a former student in the city of Kazan. We saw some very dramatic images this morning of people trying to make it to safety, children from that school, some of them throwing themselves, jumping from the windows of the 3rd story of the school building, trying to escape, and you could hear the gunshots in the background.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Port Adelaide is considering launching an appeal after Scott Lycett was handed a 4-match suspension for a sling tackle that concussed Adelaide's Ned McHenry. That's despite saying earlier in the week they would accept any penalty that was imposed. Meantime, Melbourne recruit Ben Brown says the fact the team is going well has spurred on his own performance. Brown has played 2 games for the Demons and says he's embracing the extra pressure to perform, given everyone else is going so well.
I think for me it's just been about coming in, trying to play my role and do things my way to an extent, but also buy into the way that the team's playing, because the team's been going so well, and we all know that we've got to keep the foot on the pedal.
Let's go to tennis. World number 1 Novak Djokovic has admitted he lost his cool as he raged at the umpire during his Italian Open win against Taylor Fritz. He was clearly unhappy they were left on court with rain falling.
How much more you want to play?
I'm going to check the court.
I asked you 3 times. You're not checking anything.
You didn't ask to check the court. You said it was when you're serving, but I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Now it's getting harder. I'm going to check the court.
Getting harder. Yeah, right. Getting harder.
Aussie John Millman is through to the round of 32 after beating Dusan Lajovic in straight sets. And Manchester City are English Premier League champions again after Manchester United lost 2-1 against Leicester. The result means City are now 10 points clear with only 3 games left to play. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
At Crayford, the freeway right-hand lane closed from Crayford to the tunnel city-bound, as well as outbound from Mount Osman. Getting busy for the drive-in, Main North Road approaching Kings Road for works and South Road at Dawes Road. Look out for some roadworks at Warradale Diagonal Road near Dunrobin Road for Ashfield Works, and a couple of speed cameras, Trimmer Parade at Findon, Winston Avenue, Clarence Gardens. Amazon.com.au offer free delivery on eligible orders over $39. That's right, free delivery. Shop amazon.com.au. Easy as Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
Mostly sunny today, 17. Showers tomorrow, 17. Right now it is 7. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Lawless, the termite people.
Yes, Lawless are still the termite people, celebrating over 78 years in pest control. For termite or other pest problems, call Lawless on 8443 9636 or online at lawlerpestcontrol.com.au. For really good information on all pests, call Lawless, the people you can trust, on 8443 9636 for a free survey and quote. That's 8443 9636.
Lawless, the termite people.
I don't really like talking on radio, but I do like talking about our cows at the FIVEaa Milk Company. And I love helping support SA dairy farmers. They're a great bunch with beautiful families. They work day and night to produce the best milk in SA. So when you're in the supermarket, look for FIVEaa Milk Company. South Australian and proud of it. I'm getting good at this.
FIVEaa Milk Company, celebrating 15 years of SA business. FIVEaamilkco.com.au.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 minutes to 8. Tom Duday coming up after 8 o'clock today. Right now, though, it's time to go round the courts with the best in the business, Sean Fuster from The Advertiser. Morning to you, Sean.
Morning, boys.
Sean, this story gave me the absolute creeps. This former childcare worker and his ex-boyfriend standing trial over some pretty repellent conduct vis-a-vis children. And here we go again. Oh, I'm so sick of talking about this. They pleaded guilty to one offence to try to get a discount.
That's right. Bronte John Sirakovic, who was the one working at the childcare centre, has admitted making child abuse material using one of the children who was supposed to be in his care at that childcare centre. He's pleaded guilty to that offence, and as we've talked about, guys, that means he's entitled to up to 25% off his sentence for that offence. But he's pleaded not guilty to 7 other charges and said, no, I'll go to trial on those. So in terms of showing contrition and remorse, I guess we're supposed to interpret that legally as he's contrite and remorseful for one allegation, but he completely denies the others, and he's saying that it was just a once-er.
Would this be a judge or jury trial, Sean?
Good question. They have yet to decide that. And, of course, there's this separate matter of the fact that his former boyfriend, Kane Rockley, has said, look, I've done nothing wrong. I'm charged with one offence. And as the Advertiser was able to exclusively reveal, his defence at the trial, whether it be jury or judge, is going to be, well, this was done with a telephone, mobile phone. I don't have that mobile phone. It was registered under my name, but it was paid for and always in the possession of Sirakovic. So he's left me in the gun for something that he's done.
He gets to choose, doesn't he?
He does. Everybody gets to choose.
Because
That's what happens.
Surely it'd be judged, won't it? I mean, imagine would his plea?
I reckon there'd be a lot of people in South Australia volunteering to be on this jury.
Well, I was just going to say, is the bit about him pleading guilty?
I'll just go in for the sentencing bit. No, for the verdict bit.
Is the bit about him pleading guilty admissible?
Don't want to see any more of the evidence.
Would a jury know that he'd plead guilty to another charge?
You know, that's an excellent question, Will, and I wish I had a definitive answer for you, but the answer is sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Okay.
It depends often where the offence that someone's pleaded guilty to sits in the order. So let's say that some of these offences he's denied happen on either side of the offence he's admitted. Prosecution might have to tell the jury, he's admitted to this one in the middle. You have to decide whether the ones on the left and on the right actually happened as well. Other trials, you'll have a situation where after it's been through the magistrate's court, after it's been reported, our good old friend, a suppression order will be put down, or the jury simply won't be told and asked to make their decision based on everything to which he's not pleaded guilty. It's why you tend to see in these sort of matters go to a trial by judge alone, because a judge can be appraised of everything and sit completely unbiased and say, well, it doesn't matter what you've confessed to, I will limit my consideration to this.
I mean, it's just perverse. The whole idea of discounts. Discounts generally work conceptually, they're a reward for consistent and positive behaviour. You get a discount if you buy 9 coffees in a row at your local coffee shop, or if you pay your AGL bill on time, you get $50 off your bill because you're a good customer. You don't get it because you're a card-carrying pervert who, as a matter of convenience, has pleaded guilty to one of the 8 charges you're facing.
And as we keep saying, it is a matter of convenience. This was introduced for no reason other than trying to speed up and clear up the logjam in the legal system.
And yet again, the offer stands. Any political party that wants to grab this crap with both hands and really stamp it out once and for all, there's thousands and thousands of votes waiting for you if you make it an issue. Just go to war with these legal types who hide behind process and, my God, a childcare centre, a place where you leave your kids. You're meant to leave them with total confidence.
Well, that's right. We had 2 women who came to the court the other day to watch this go on. Their children attended the centre, and I say in the past tense, attended the centre where Sirakovic worked. And one of them said, look, I will never again let my kids attend a childcare centre where there's a male worker. If I see a male worker there, I'll completely pull them out. And she said, look, I understand. That's tarring everybody with an unfair brush. Not every male worker does things like that.
Of course they don't.
But how could I ever feel comfortable again? And my heart broke for her because, you do want to trust male workers in this industry. And there are so many male workers out there right now that are going, this guy's just ruined it for us again unfairly.
Well, that shouldn't be the response. It's understandable on the case of that mum, but I got to say, I mean, I know blokes who work in childcare who are sensational. There's one guy in particular that we got similar interests. I think he listens to the show. He might even be listening now. But we always chat about how our veggie patches are going. He's really, really good with my boys. And you want young boys to have male role models.
That's right.
Because education is so female. But that's why we just got to rub these bastards out.
Yeah, agreed. Because it's another consequence. It's not just the children who suffer, it's not just the families who suffer, but it's people who are completely unconnected to this, linked only by shared industry, who will suffer as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And while we're on uplifting stories, Sean, a would-be Islamic State terrorist has just been released from prison.
Yeah, this is Zainab Abdirahman Khalif. You'll remember that she was convicted at trial of attempting to join ISIS, that she was acquitted on retrial of attempting to join ISIS, then she was reconvicted on High Court appeal of attempting to join Islamic State. After all of that, she ended up serving her full 3-year prison term. No parole was extended, no mercy was offered, no leniency was given. She served every single day of the 3 years. Now, normally, blokes, when someone finishes their entire prison term, it means that you're done, you're finished, you walk away, you've served your debt to the community. The federal government said, look, we still think you represent a risk. We still think that you're the sort of person who might try to do this again or might hook up with somebody in future. So they put down what effectively turns into bail conditions to monitor her for at least the next 12 months. So even though she's done her time, she's still being very closely monitored in the community for at least the next 12 months.
Makes sense. Sean, now you've got a new time for Just Lawful this Sunday.
That's right. I believe the sports ball is throwing its hoops and jumping through its sticks at a different time. Am I given to understand that's how it works?
Yes, that's right, mate.
Is that when they throw the shuttlecock up and hit it with the hockey stick?
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, beautiful, yeah. Well, after all that finishes, Daniel and I will be on at 7:20 this Sunday night with part 3 of the Hillier triple murder case. We've reached the point where last week the accused actually pleaded guilty to one of the murders, but for some reason denied the other 2. So we're going to unpack what that meant, why that was attempted, what legal manoeuvring was attempted, and how that affected a brand new group of family members to whom I'd had no interaction with by that point.
Sean, you're getting some wonderful feedback I see on social media. Everyone else, if you want to check it out, make sure you do so now. Jump on board 7:20 this Sunday after the West Coast Crows game that starts at 3:30. We'll catch you then and see you next week, Sean.
Cheers, Sean.
Thanks, guys.
Sean Fewster, Chief Court Reporter at The Advertiser. It's 15 minutes to 8 and time to check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles. Dave Potter Honda.
At Crafers on the freeway, the right-hand lane is closed from Crafers to the tunnel city-bound, as well as outbound from Mount Osman. Heavy traffic on Regency Road near the north-south motorway. Slow going at Glandore this morning. That's at the intersection of South Road and Anzac Highway. And also seeing quite heavy delays around Main North Road approaching Kings Road as well. A couple of speed cameras. Trimmer Parade at Findon, Winston Avenue, Clarence Gardens. Planning your funeral? Talk with Alfred James Funeral Directors about their prepaid and pre-arranged options. Phone for a free no-obligation quote or visit alfredjames.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Anyone can experience a cardiac condition, whether it's a diagnosis or requires surgery. It can bring uncertainty to your life. Heartbeat SA are here to offer you reassurance. In fact, they have dedicated officers to provide it. And it's from people who have been there, done that, and really know what you're going through. So reach out. Visit heartbeatsouthaaustralia.org.au.
The Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery is giving you the chance to win something really special. A stunning Scott Salisbury home on the Esplanade at South Brighton with the most incredible views. Fully furnished and professionally decorated and landscaped, this home comes with everything you could ever want or need, including $1 million cash. It's a $3.4 million grand prize and it could all be yours. Get your tickets today at homelottery.com.au and join the fight for cures, better treatments and improved care. Licence M13989.
What about this? Westside Energy, they're a local, well-established and trusted supplier of solar and home batteries, and they've got an incredible offer, especially for listeners to 5AA.
When you purchase any premium range solar system or home battery, Westside Energy will take care of your last quarter's electricity bill. That's right. Westside Energy will pay your last power bill for you. That's one less bill in your bill folder.
I tell you what, depending on how much juice you use, that's a saving, I reckon, for a lot of people, like $500, $600, $700. Now, look, it's a strictly limited offer, and some terms and conditions apply. There's already many wonderful benefits from going solar. Think about the money you'll save down the track, especially now with having home battery storage. And here's one more from Westside Energy. Buy any of their premium range solar systems or home batteries, and Westside Energy will pay your last quarter's electricity bill now. Terms and conditions apply.
For more information, jump onto their website, visit westsideenergy.com.au. That's westsideenergy.com.au.
Nothing beats that new car experience, and you'll still be feeling it long after you drive away in a new Kluger 7-seat hybrid SUV from Jarvis Toyota. With all-wheel drive hybrid power and intelligent safety technology, the Kluger is where freedom meets family. The buzz around the new Kluger is huge, so register your interest at Jarvis Toyota, Clovelly Park today. Rediscover the road in the all-new Toyota Kluger Hybrid at Jarvis Toyota, South Road, Clovelly Park, proudly celebrating 20 years of great deals.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
12 to 8, John Blake before 8 o'clock, then after 8. The Federal Finance Minister Simon Birmingham will join us, as will Crow Tom Duday. Get his take on the Scott Lycett tackle and Ned McHenry's state following being concussed in the showdown and more. That's coming up after 8 o'clock. Let's talk weather first. It got seriously cool overnight. Amelia Mulcahy from 7 News joins us with all the details. Morning to you, Amelia.
Good morning. What a chilly start we had this morning. A low of 5.1 degrees in the city. That's our coldest start since October, and it's about half the May average overnight temperature. That's usually around 10 degrees. Of course, 3.5 at Parafield, a low of 4.4 at Elizabeth, and plenty of ones on the board further afield too. So down to about a degree in Uriutpa, Keith, Roseworthy and Snowtown. Clare was the coldest with a low of 0.3 as well, so certainly a frosty start. It's a lovely 7 degrees at the moment in the city. That's a nice warm number there.
My mum and dad are up in Clare right now for a few days of noodling around, doing a bit of wine tasting.
True Clare weather.
Going to that great Indian restaurant for dinner tonight. They went to the Watervale Hotel, had a superb meal the other night. But yeah, when I spoke to Mum last night, and she said it was already 0 or close to.
Ooh.
Freezing.
Ugh. Yeah, true Clare weather and true
it's good
May
though.
weather too. You know, these kind of temperatures aren't that unusual for May as well, so we do have them sleep in every now and then, especially when we've got clearing skies overnight. So on the plus side, and this is where my motivational talk is going to come in, today's a really good day and probably the best of the week to get out and do stuff. So if you've got washing that needs to go on the line, stuff to do outdoors, today is your day, a mostly sunny day, because then we've got showers developing tomorrow. So we could see, you know, maybe 1 to 3 millimetres worth. Could see a couple of millimetres on Friday as well, and you just can't rule out a shower Saturday or Sunday. Interestingly, and this will be easy to remember, 17 degrees is the forecast top from today right through till the weekend, right through till Sunday. So easy one to remember there. Cold start today, but bit of sunshine around today this afternoon.
Excellent.
Good on you, Amelia.
Thanks, Amelia.
Enjoy it, guys.
Will do. Amelia Mulcahy from 7 News. It's coming up to 9 minutes to 8. And it is time for John Blake, thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast, 13 13 64.
The Office of the Premier of South Australia, the Honourable Stephen Marshall.
Yes, Julian.
Morning, Premier. Would you like a cup of tea or should we have a referendum first?
Yeah, very funny. Bring me the tea.
More aggressive. Tea, lady!
Oh, good.
So, what's the reaction been like? Everybody hate you?
Reaction to what?
Well, the reaction to your big announcement that you're so ticked off you can't get something through Parliament, you're going to let the people decide and wash your hands of the whole affair.
Oh, it's been pretty good.
Fabulous! Bit sneaky, though, I thought.
Well, it's not really. I made a promise to deregulate shopping hours in 2018 and I'm not being allowed to keep it.
No, it must be awfully frustrating because we know how much politicians love to keep their promises.
That's right.
Yeah.
We now have the opportunity to drag this town into the 21st century.
So fill me in, Premier. Now you have to get the Parliament to agree to let you have the referendum.
Yes.
What happens if they say no, you're not going to have a referendum?
Well, we'll have to...
Have another referendum?
No, you can't do that.
Oh, what a shame. You love referendums.
Anyway, why would everybody hate me? Most people want deregulated shopping hours.
Because you got rid of the V8 supercars, that's why.
Yes, and that's why Malinauskas should be supporting me with this legislation.
Why?
Because I've made it easy for him to break his promise.
What, his promise to bring back the race?
Yes, I'm auctioning off all the infrastructure before the election so he won't be able to bring the race back and he can blame me.
But he has to win the election first.
Yes, that's right.
But if he lets you have the referendum when most people want deregulation, it might win the election for you.
Yes, that's right too.
So why would he help you?
Well, because he might still win the election.
But if he wins the election and people vote yes in the referendum, then he still can't bring back the race and he has to deregulate shopping hours. That's 2 broken promises. Everybody's going to hate his guts.
Oh my God, I am sneaky.
It is, by the looks of it, dead as a dodo. Yesterday, Labor and key crossbenchers, Frank Pangello, Connie Benaros, Tammy Franks, Robert Sims, John Darley, they all said that they would vote against the referendum. I got to say, I find this weird. The logic, particularly Tammy Franks, the Greens MLC, her comment, she said, putting the issue to a referendum would be, quote, an extraordinary abrogation of the responsibilities of parliamentarians. Well, a couple of points you'd make there. I would have thought that the way democracy works is that the party that receives the highest up, that wins the highest number of seats, which in this case was the Liberals in 2018, running on a clear-cut policy promise of deregulating trading hours, the same promise that they took in 2014. Yep. There's no surprises there. That was the will of the Liberal Party, ergo the will of the people at the 2018 election, backed up by opinion polls, is to deregulate. So maybe the abrogation of the responsibilities of parliamentarians, in the case of Tammy Franks and her chums, is twofold. First, in denying a mandate, and then second, and this is really hilarious, given the Greens are all giddy with excitement about new forms of, democratic participation and what have you, the idea of getting people grassroots level more involved in politics. I would have thought the idea of holding a referendum on something that the state's been arguing about for 3 decades is actually a really good way of directly handing it over to the people. Yeah. Which begs the question, what are they so afraid of?
Yeah, it's stunning.
And look, I am not 100% sold on the idea, and quite deliberately, the only question that I really had for Rob Lucas yesterday was, what does it mean for your Chanellas and your little IGAs, and what does it mean for Manny's Fruit Shop in Goodwood and Dave the Butcher down the road? Are we all going to be corralled into a Coles/Woolworth retail space? Because that's not ideal. But I thought Lucas made the good point, which is, well, a lot of these things have been happening by government decree. So we've had heaps of shopping days in the last few years because he as minister can do it. And it's not like the Chanel ZL have gone out of business. If anything, as South Australians, we're so loyal to them that you think they're going to prosper anyway.
I'd love to know if it's an abrogation of the role of Parliament, and the role of Parliament is not to enact things for which there is a clear mandate. What is the role of Parliament?
And this is where I don't want Frank Pangello and I to have to go back to relationship counselling again. But I tell you what, there's a certain delusion of grandeur on the part of some of these independents kicking around there in the upper house circus tent, that they think that the election was more about their mandate than the government's mandate. It's like, well, Marshall might say that's his policy, but I had mine too. Was that really uppermost in people's minds? Or was it just a handful of people who happened to vote for them? And they ended up, through the great lottery that is parliamentary democracy, holding the whip hand in the upper house.
It's an extraordinary concession to say that, we can't do this because it might turn out that people actually want it.
Yeah. The thing I resent... yeah, exactly. But who are these 5 people to tell us how we should live our lives and how businesses should operate?
Yeah. You know who should definitely not have a say? The people of South Australia.
Yeah, that's right.
That's who.
Exactly.
That's why there's a parliament. We'll tell them what they care about.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks. 3 to 8.
Don't just get a forklift. Get a Toyota forklift.
When you need a forklift, don't just get a forklift. Get a Toyota forklift. Get the world's #1 forklift brand. Get legendary Toyota reliability. Get world-leading safety and get it from toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get the Toyota Forklift Advantage for sales, service and hire.
Get a Toyota forklift.
How do you know you're in South Australia? Well, we make a great coffee with Festival Mad. And we have Leader computers. Yep, world-class Leader computers are made and serviced right here in Adelaide. It means everything you need for your business or home computing is local, not overseas, not interstate. So if something does go wrong, there's no runaround. Live life local. Live life Leader. Leader computers. To find your local dealer, visit leadersystems.com.au.
3 words your friends and family never like hearing. We're moving house.
Yeah, I know. Suddenly all sorts of people crawl out of the woodwork at a time like that. But look, don't worry though. If your friends and family are over helping you move, you can always rely on budget car and truck rentals to help you out.
You can do it all with budget car and truck rentals, from 3-ton moving trucks you can drive on a car licence to vans and moving trailers. Budget car and truck rentals make it easy as to move house.
A lot of fun too, renting a truck. That'd be good fun. Just do it for fun. You don't even need to move.
Yeah, just tell people you're moving house.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't move a thing.
Yeah, just drive around all day. Possibly the best part about using budget car and truck rentals is that you won't owe your friends and family a house move in return.
That's right. Do it right in half the time and save money with budget car and truck rentals. Adelaide Airport City, Marston, Salisbury and Ranella. That's 13 27 27. Give them a call. 13 27 27.
Bad news. Your electricity bill is about to come in. But here's some good news from Westside Energy. They'll pay it for you. When you purchase any premium range solar system or home battery from Westside Energy, they'll take care of your last quarter's electricity bill. That's right, Westside Energy will pay for your last power bill. It's a strictly limited offer and some terms and conditions apply. For more information, visit westsideenergy.com.au. I feel better already.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Right on 8 o'clock, coming up very shortly, breaking at 8. Then we've got Tom Doudet, then the Federal Minister for Finance, South Australian Senator Simon Birmingham, on the federal budget. And of course, behind closed doors, massive hour on 5AA Breakfast coming up. Stick around.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Mostly sunny 17 today with the 8 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Keep your body in shape with Physio Extra Clinical Pilates and group exercise classes. PhysioExtra.com.
The Prime Minister says the latest budget is designed to cushion the Australian economy as the world still grapples with COVID-19. Big spending measures have been announced to drive jobs, including more infrastructure projects and aged care reform. With fewer people on welfare and increasing tax revenue, the budget deficit has come down, but debt still remains very high. Scott Morrison says the government is doing everything possible to protect lives and livelihoods.
I think we have to just take stock here for a second. This is a pandemic budget. These are not usual times. We've been facing the biggest economic challenge in 75 years, and that has required the government to step up and do what we've done.
Martin Hazy from Business SA has welcomed the extension of the wage subsidy for apprentices.
For that to be extended for a further 6 months from September through to March 2022 now gives employers a lot more surety about taking on an apprentice, and addressing the skills gap in South Australia must be one of the highest priorities to really get the economy moving.
A makeshift memorial for the Port Lincoln teenager killed in yesterday's industrial bin incident is growing. One tribute for 13-year-old Spencer Benbolt reading "Rest in Peace, Soldier." He was sleeping in the bin with 2 others when it was emptied. He died after suffering serious injuries. The hunt is continuing for a man who stole cash during a hold-up at Salisbury Downs. Senior Constable Kylie Simpson says it happened around 8:30 last night.
A man entered a service station on Salisbury Highway. He was armed with a knife and threatened the console attendant before fleeing on foot.
All COVID-19 vaccine doses needed to inoculate the Australian population could soon be produced here. BioChina and the University of Adelaide has purchased a purpose-built manufacturing plant in South Australia. The Australian reports, once given the green light, production could begin within 6 to 12 months. Only a month after her husband's death, the Queen has attended the state opening of UK Parliament. Nine's Ben Avery reports from London.
It was the Queen's 67th state opening of Parliament, but her first as a widow. In years gone by, she'd attend alongside the Duke of Edinburgh, but this year she was greeted by Prince Charles, who held his mother's hand as they walked to the sovereign's throne. It was there Her Majesty made her traditional Queen's speech, an address that is written by the British Prime Minister outlining the government's priorities for the coming parliamentary year. The 95-year-old monarch was the only person in the chamber without a face mask and stood out in a lilac dress.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
With everything footy, here's Tom Wren.
Yeah, thank you, Mel. We'll begin there. Port Adelaide's considering whether to challenge the 4-match suspension handed to ruckman Scott Lycett by the AFL Tribunal. He was charged with rough conduct for a slinging tackle against Adelaide midfielder Ned McHenry. The Power will be without him for Saturday night's blockbuster clash against the Bulldogs at Adelaide Oval. Former skipper Travis Boak says their midfield is a major threat.
They go really deep through there, and I think Liberatore's been outstanding, and I think he's one that's led the way for him in there, and it's going to be a great challenge for us. But we run deep in the midfield as well, so we've already started looking at some vision, and we're ready to face that challenge.
That audio thanks to Channel 9. Meantime, the AFL will return to Thursday night team announcements from round 10. Let's go to soccer. Manchester City's won its 5th EPL title in a decade and 7th top-flight trophy in its history after Manchester United lost 2-1 against Leicester. The Foxes taking the lead midway through the second half.
Well, Brighton's corner, Soyuncu's thumping header, Leicester City's lead. He was not for stopping, thundered through the crowd. And 25 minutes out from 90 at Old Trafford, Manchester United trail and City can reach out and touch it.
Yeah, they certainly can. The result means Leicester is now up to 3rd and will almost certainly qualify for the Champions League next season. The Adelaide 36ers playoff hopes have taken a major hit after suffering a 71 to 66 point loss against Illawarra overnight, and Ilya Tomljanovic and John Millman have both progressed to the second round of the Rome Tennis Masters with straight sets wins. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
There's a smash at Fulham Gardens, Grange Road near Tapley's Hill Road. 2 cars involved there. Crafers on the freeway. The right-hand lane is closed from Crafers to the tunnel. City-bound delays building. And for Mount Barker, look out. Reports of a whole bunch of deer blocking the left-hand lane there, so take some care. Getting busy, Regency Road at North-South Motorway, heavy, and Main North Road approaching Kings Road for works as well. A couple of speed cameras to look out for. Dawes Road, Ascot Park, Fisher Street at Melbourne. Have you been dreaming of an Audi? Then you can turn your dreams into a reality with the Audi end-of-year financial events on now at your preferred Audi dealer. Terms and conditions apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
17 for your Wednesday, mostly sunny. Showers tomorrow, 17, and much the same again on Friday. Right now it's 9. More news as it happens on 5AA.
In the last hour on Adelaide's 5AA.
It's the morning after the federal budget, and we're here to tell you how it will affect South Australia. Rebecca Pickering's the CEO of the Civil Contractors Federation of South Australia.
The budget is about an 8 out of 10 at the moment for us. Again, as discussed on Monday, great to see those projects we've had on the radar for some time. It does look like there is that funding increase, which is great.
Jane Musserad is the CEO of the Council on the Ageing. Big feature piece of the budget was on aged care.
So we've given it a 7 out of 10 for aged care. It is a very substantial, very meaningful first response to the Royal Commission. The highlight is the 80,000 new home care places over 2 years.
Here we go again. Oh, I'm so sick of talking about this. They pleaded guilty to one offence to try to get a discount.
That's right. Bronte John Sirakovic, who was the one working at the childcare centre, has admitted making child abuse material using one of the children who was supposed to be in his care at that childcare centre. He's pleaded guilty to that offence, and as we've talked about, guys, that means he's entitled to up to 25% off his sentence.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 after 8, Tom Duday coming up very shortly. Then after 8:30 this morning, South Australian Senator Simon Birmingham will join us. We'll go behind closed doors as well. But first, it's time for Breaking It Up.
Well, today in Breaking It Up, we want to spend a little bit of time talking about the business case behind what we regard as a really genuinely exciting joint venture between the American biotech giant Biosina, the University of Adelaide and the South Australian Health and Medical Research Institute, as is reported on the front page of today's Australian. I'll read you the first 2 parts just to recap. Australia could achieve total COVID-19 vaccine self-reliance within 6 months and produce enough synthetic vaccine to inoculate the entire nation under a partnership between international biotech giant by Ascena and the University of Adelaide. The venture would give Australia full sovereign capability not only to mass-produce mRNA vaccines such as Pfizer and Moderna, but also to retool those vaccines in the event of future coronavirus outbreaks and to avoid further problems with overseas vaccine supply. One of the key words that has emerged over the last 12 months, and the best local example of it was Detmold, the company that reinvented itself as a mask manufacturer when we initially realised that we didn't have the local capacity to meet up the demand for personal protective equipment. Self-reliance in the post-pandemic world is absolutely essential. Now, in terms of how this joint venture gets off the ground, bearing in mind that it's ready to go. I mean, the facility in Theberton has been inspected and approved by both the Therapeutic Goods Association and also the Food and Drug Authority in the United States, the FDA, meaning that it's actually ready to produce stuff that would be fit for purpose, fit for use in Australia, and also fit for use in the United States and also in any other country that accepts the FDA's standards as acceptable for things like drugs. Now, my understanding, talking to people close to the project, the ask in a monetary sense is up to $100 million, but as low as around $60 million. And that is sort of seed funding. The preference, my understanding, is for it to come from the federal government or potentially the state government. There might be different ways. And you look at the example of Texas, where so many great businesses there decided to commit to cities like Dallas and Houston, but more importantly for a city of our size, Adelaide, with our sister city Austin being potentially a model. The local authorities in Texas help business by getting out of the way in terms of eliminating to zero the tax burden on them. Maybe there's a role for the state government there. But if you look at the amount of money that was splashed around in yesterday's budget, and interesting, I think, too, the point made by the state shadow treasurer, Stephen Mulligan, where he says the money pouring into state coffers from last night's budget will be extraordinary. Extra GST, school funding, NDIS, job trainer funds, infrastructure. I mean, if you were drawing up a list of what you're going to spend money on, and whether he likes it or not, the Premier has set the example. We've got a $700 million basketball stadium being proposed. $60 to $100 million, be it state or federal money, to get behind something that could be such an identity-changing project for South Australia, a genuine look at what advanced manufacturing actually looks like, something that goes to our bona fides as a university town with a proud history rooted in science. It's such an exciting project. We're going to be asking Burma about it after 8:30, and I'm pursuing it separately with the state government today. But I reckon as South Australians, we should be doing everything in our power to get behind this concept.
Now, some expat Australians have identified something a little bit odd in an interview that took place on the US Today show, which is, their sort of version of Kochie and Sunrise over there, watched by millions upon millions of people. Some expat Australians have raised it on social media. You can see the video of what we're talking about right now if you go to the 5AA Facebook or YouTube live stream. It was an interview conducted with Matt Damon, who, of course, is in Australia doing a film at the moment. Fantastic. Great to have him here. He was doing the interview on the Today show, and a few expat Aussies noticed he was doing it live from inside a TAB.
With all the screens around him.
So
is it a TAB or is it a sports bar? It looks like a TAB.
No, I think it's a TAB. I think there's signage in the background. People on the live stream will be able to have a look at it right now. So he... Presumably, so it'd be early morning. It's a breakfast show US, so it'd be nighttime Australian time. But here's Matt Damon hanging out in the TAB somewhere in Sydney, I guess.
Maybe he's trying to bet his way out of trouble on, race 8 at Mandurah or something. You're in strife and you're going, what time are the dogs on in Perth?
Oh, yeah. When does South Africa start up? What is the time difference?
Anything happening in Singapore?
Yeah. Well,
do you ever do that? Do you ever go to the pub and just put a line through an afternoon and bet?
No, because you can just... You don't need to physically go there anymore.
I've got mates who do it, and about probably twice a year, I'd go to that excellent sports bar at the Goodie Park Hotel, where you feel like you're in a country town. It's like Fight Club for blokes, that sports bar. Sometimes you're walking down Goodwood Road, and a guy will walk past you, and you go, "G'day, mate," and you just go, "Oh yeah, sports bar." That's how I know him. You never discuss it, but you just give each other a knowing wink. I mean, I haven't got the betting gene. I'll make 10 $1 stupid bets on dogs in the course of those very, very rare days that I do. But I like the vibe of it. I like the way in a lot of those places, certainly the one in Goodwood, you got high vis blokes, and then you've got guys in suits who are clearly like suburban solicitors have snuck in to put a few lazy trifectas on while they had their palmy.
In Matt Damon's defence, there would be a novelty element to it for him because it's still not legal to sports bet in all the states in the United States. It's only just in the last 2 or 3 years started to become something that is legal, and it's a patchwork quilt of legality. So there are situations right now where people travel from New York have legalised it, but it hasn't actually been enacted by their equivalent of the state parliament yet. But the people there have been these incidents, and we covered it in the early breakfast a couple of weeks back, where in New Jersey there are Starbucks coffee houses where police keep getting call-outs because the car park's full of these seedy-looking young blokes who are just hanging out in the car for 6 hours. We don't know what's going on. And what they realised was because sports gambling was legalised in Jersey, it was all these New Yorkers crossing the bridge. They just come to the nearest car park, and there'd be carloads of young guys who'd sit in the car all day sports betting. So in America, it's not just a given you can turn up somewhere and have a punt. So for Matt Damon, it might still be, hang on, we just walk in here and watch sports all day and bet? Sweet. 15 after 8, let's check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal in 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles. Dave Potter Honda.
Gamble responsibly.
Look out for a smash Fulham Gardens, Grange Road near Tapley's Hill Road. There are 2 cars involved. Crafers on the freeway. The right-hand line is closed from Crafers to the tunnels. That's city-bound delays building. And getting busy, Regency Road, north-south motorway. It's quite heavy, actually. And also sluggish going this morning, South Road at Anzac Highway. A couple of speed cameras. Trimmer Parade, Findon, Military Road at Westlake Shore. Need new tyres for winter? Until May 31, buy 3 Bridgestone Acopia fuel-saving tyres and get the 4th one free. Conditions apply. Search Bridgestone Select today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic. On 5AA.
Rowie Sport Show.
Warren Treadray is here.
How many for Scotty Lysette? He faces the tribunal as we speak.
Let's cut this CRAP. You know what they're doing? They're arguing between 3 and 4. Go put 3 in front of Scotty Lysette. He'll sign it that quickly. He'll have him locked away. But I suspect it might end up 4 because it comes back to Adelaide's medical report.
4 p.m. weekdays.
We saw McHenry run today, but by all reports he didn't pull up well. And you wouldn't because it was a brutal tackle.
Rowie Sport Show on 5AA.
Know what's kick-ass? Getting out there and exploring the great outdoors. And the right gear can make it really kick-ass. For quality four-wheel drive and camping gear, use kick-ass products. Available only at australiandirect.com.au.
When people walk through the doors at Pals, the first thing they say is wow. Not only because of the size and the selection, but also because of the team. Sam and Jamie have tasted every drop. They and their team can recommend a whiskey that's just as good as that hard-to-find Japanese one, if they don't have it, that is. Or a beautiful red that's reminiscent of that outstanding cellar door you once travelled so far to visit. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
Living with osteoarthritis means living with pain. But SportsMed is changing that, thanks to the revolutionary GLAD program. Here's SportsMed's Dr. Greg Keane with more.
GLAD is a 6-week exercise program performed in groups, and it continues to produce remarkable results for patients, even a year after completing the course. If you are struggling with the pain of osteoarthritis, visit SportsMed. Let's beat this.
SportsMed.
Start living life again, even with arthritis.
Sportsmed.com.au.
The Barossa Valley is gorgeous, which is why it makes sense to make the vine change to retirement living in Barossa Village, Angaston, Tanunda and Nuriutpa. It's the retirement lifestyle you deserve. And your pets too. Yes, your pets are your family, so you should never have to choose between your lifestyle and your beloved animals. Make the vine change at Barossa Village, under an hour from the city. Find out more at barossavillage.org.
At Terry White Chemmart, we're here to help this winter. Book your flu vaccination service online today. Walk-ins available. Terry White Chemmart. Now that's real chemistry.
conditions apply. See terrywhitechemmart.com.au for details.
Hi there, I'm Matt, a Specsavers optometrist. Did you know that every Specsavers is locally owned and operated by an optometrist just like me? We believe eye tests should reveal more, not cost more, which is why we include an OCT advanced 3D eye scan with every eye test at no extra charge. Does your optometrist? Experience the Specsavers difference and book your eye test today. We're here to look after your eye health and keep you safe in store. Visit specsavers.com.au.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
19 after 8, it's that time of the week. Thanks to Leader Computers, Australia's largest PC and server manufacturer, built and serviced right here in Adelaide.
I'm the dude, so that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
If you're not into the brevity thing, he's Tom Duday, but he joins us each and every week on 5AA Breakfast. Morning to you, Tom.
Morning. How we going?
Good, thanks, Tom. Good to see you again. We might just go newsy and kick off by talking about the news overnight about Scott Lycett and the 4 weeks. Clearly, the tackle was unpleasant to watch, bracing. Clearly had a pretty significant impact on McHenry. But as a player, because we were saying, like, Will and I are both Crows fans, but we're not hating on Scott Lycett. We think it was one of those things that sort of happens, and clearly players need to rethink how they execute these tackles. But what's your assessment of the 4 weeks?
Yeah, pretty much similar to you, Pemba. I still don't really get the how the match review panel work. I don't really understand in terms of the tribunal why it's 4 weeks, what's 3 weeks. I don't look deep enough into it to understand. But I think the tackle, there was no initial malice in it, and from what I know, that the little drive after it, he obviously, well, from what I know of Lycett, he didn't know that Neddy was in a bit of strife, and that little bit after it was just a bit of showdown energy taking over. I think the way that he's come out about it, saying like his remorseful and stuff's been great, and I think he genuinely is. I think maybe he sent Ned something to say apologise for it and things like that. So,
well, like an email or a text or something?
No, I think it might have been a gift and a card or something.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
I didn't know
heard,
that.
Yeah, someone told me about it, but I'm not sure if that's 100% true. But I don't think he intentionally was going out to hurt Ned. It was
He's
just
not a dirty
passion.
player.
Nah, and then the 4 games, like I said, I just don't know whereabouts that line's drawn in terms of, and I think they'll challenge it and try and get it down to 3, I think, if I understand.
About it.
But yeah, it's more just, it's something that we're trying to get out of the game just because of obviously the danger of head issues and concussions and what it leads to in the future. So it's something we're still trying to work on, but I don't think there was any intention there to hurt Ned.
How is he? How's he pulled up, Ned?
Yeah, pretty good. I think he had a run yesterday, which I know the camera saw and the media were there. And I think he was a bit groggy on Sunday, and as expected, I think not just the concussion, but post-game and imagine having a sleep after that would have been a bit difficult. But how he's come along Monday has been impressive, and had a run yesterday. And then, I don't know, I haven't chatted to him yet today, but in terms of like ticking off the boxes in the concussion protocol, he's doing pretty well. And to see him running 3 days post-concussion's been great for us, considering the worries obviously that come with it.
Now, you were caught on camera early in the showdown doing something I didn't know was a feature of your game, and maybe it's not. Maybe it was just a moment that was captured. You a trash talker?
Oh, was that to Marshall?
Yeah, it was.
That was pretty funny though, wasn't it?
but we don't know what was said.
Oh, I
but
said,
you sort of you found it pretty funny.
I said, are there holes in your hands, mate? Because he had an easy, uncontested mark on me, which, to be honest, I was in the wrong, because I got pushed out of the contest completely. Yeah, absolutely destroyed me, and then he just dropped the mark. But no, I don't get into it too much. I just more, if there's an opportunity to have a bit of cheek about me, which my mum would tell you, I was always growing up a bit cheeky. But yeah, no, I said, are there holes in your hands, mate? But he's a good lad. He took it well. Later on in the game, when we were getting destroyed, I sort of laid off a little bit of the smack talk.
It was early.
I think I went to the umpires a bit more, because they had I thought it was a good one. Are there holes in your hands?
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah.
Is it So it's not something you do regularly. Who's the worst offender going around? Anyone just doesn't shut up, or is it all not really what happens?
No, I think we're all right in that regard. I don't like everyone knows Nettie's a bit of a he likes to nip around and get into it. But that's a bit of his role for the team. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's anyone in our team that's too bad, especially in our backline. Our backline's a relatively quiet group.
Yep.
We sort of go about our business.
You ever copped any good sledges yourself?
Nah, not really. No, I know there's the usual "Who are you?" That
is
always
that
comes
one comes
out.
up, does it?
Yeah, that's the usual from the big dogs. Or what have you done? What have you done with your life or your career, mate? I know.
Do they ever have a crack at the team? Do they ever say anything about because let's not pretend that the Crows aren't exactly on fire at the moment. Do they ever say, "Oh, geez, you guys are going well," that sort of stuff?
Yeah, there's a bit of that. Yeah, I think at the end of the game, once the final siren goes, it's like you'll be right, boys. Like it'll turn around quick, sort of thing. But in the heat of it, when the emotions are flying,
is that even worse in a way? Getting patronised?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you're just being drubbed. You've been drubbed by 80 points, and they're coming over. Yeah, you'll get there, boys. But in game, there's a bit of the like look where you guys have got to, and it's been a quick turnaround for you guys, all that stuff. But yeah, you sort of.
Do they ever talk about camps or anything like that? You heard of camp?
I've never heard about the camp. No, not in game, thankfully.
Let's not talk about that. That's all in the
why'd
past
you even
now.
bring that up? But no, typical Pemba. Typical.
There's no camp. There never was.
Yeah.
The weird thing watching the game, and this certainly is not, not trying to take a sort of Auskick type approach where you go, oh well, at least we tried, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose because everyone had a good time. Clearly, it's about winning. So it was a 49-point loss. Having said that, though, maybe I'm just trying to be too glass half full here. There were a lot of moments in the second and third quarter where I thought, if that was a goal and if that kick had just it felt like we weren't quite as crap as the scoreline suggested. Is that too giddy an assessment, or is that something?
No, I don't think so. We feel pretty similar. There were times it was either in the second or third that we watched it on Vision yesterday, and we re-entered the ball 3 or 4 times into the 50, just couldn't get a mark, and then they got one little spillage out the back, and then the way that they play, they're so attacking and so aggressive that it turned into a goal against, and so that stretched it out to 26 points or something.
Yeah.
And you look at that and go, oh, geez, that might have been the turning point for the game, whereas the final score makes it look like we got destroyed or beaten comfortably, whereas you look at that and you go, maybe if we get one there, we could sort of peg it back a little bit and make it a bit more of a contested game. But I think there's definitely glass half full in the sense that our pressure was there for a lot of the game. It was more of just that polished forward 50 entry and then a couple of lapses where the backs didn't get it done, mids got beaten, then the forwards got beat a couple of times. But
Port are a very good side,
and that's the other part. They're a quality outfit. I mean, at the start of the year they were premiership favourites, if I'm correct, and that's where we're trying to get to, and we're obviously a little bit away from that at the moment, but it's a learning curve.
All right, now I'm reliably informed you've got a movie review for us this week, or released a recommendation.
Yeah, somewhat. Mortal Kombat, the new movie out. Right?
Beer.
Yeah. So I played the games growing up, and the movie, look, it's not going to be the best movie you've ever seen. It's no Citizen Kane, Godfather type setup. The script's subpar.
Yeah.
Some of the dialogue's as cheesy as you'll get.
Yeah.
But there's scenes where this bloke's got a hat, Kong Lao, that's got like blades on it, and he spins the hat and drags someone through it. So there's a lot of blood, gore, and it's pretty violent. So maybe don't take your kids to it.
Yeah.
Or
it's an R classification in Australia.
Yeah,
I think.
it's R. Yeah. But I actually got to go on set for a day.
Really?
When it was getting shot pre-COVID. So I got to meet a few of the actors. So I'm a bit partial towards it. And because I played the games growing up, it's absolute nostalgia for me.
I never played Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah.
Is it a bit like Double Dragon?
Mortal Kombat was the...
Actually, you know
Showing
what?
your
You know what
age.
Double
I
Dragon
was going to say
is.
showing your age in arcade, isn't it?
It sort of is. Well, Mortal Kombat, my first memory of Mortal Kombat was at the corner deli. That was where it first appeared.
Yeah, correct.
Were any of it recognisably South Australia? Can you pick out anything?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know the exact spots. I think a bit of it's shot. There's like a car chase scene in Port Adelaide, and then there's...
So they just went down there any night of the week and set up the cameras, I guess.
No comment. But no, yes, there is a lot of South Australian, and there is a lot of
just jokes, folks.
There is a lot of moments of pure. Yeah, I'm going to detour for you just to get away from
well
that.
played. Good leave.
But there is a lot of moments of just where if you're an action fan, you like your John Wick stuff and whatnot, you'll love it because you'll just sit back and go, wow, that looks unreal.
It was a great job related story for SA. There were heaps of people. I think they're called Frame Creative. 3 brothers, young guys. They did all the credits. They got a little graphic design and digital design business in the city, just near the Duke of Brunswick. And great to see local people, getting genuine, meaningful employment out of it.
I was on set for about 2 or 3 hours while I was there, and there was about 45, 50 people working on this one shot that took about 2 hours to get that shot. The shot didn't make the cut. Wasn't in the movie.
You're kidding.
Yeah, so that's a sort of you're getting a lot of employment for somewhat minimal result in the end. But
can I ask you one footy question before we let you go, Tom?
Just
lastly, just about your setup and your role in the back line at the moment. Haven't been playing the two big tall defenders like you did have traditionally, so you've had to pick up. I mean, Port played 3, so you're always going to have to stand someone who's probably got a few inches on you. Are you happy having to take a taller bloke, or do you prefer a mid-sized guy that you can come off and help with?
I think ideal world, I probably get that third tall who's a bit more mid-sized towards me, and then I can win the contest aerially, but also roll off and support. But in saying that, I feel like one of my better games this year was against North, and I played on Campbell and Goldstein, the 2 resting rucks, because of speed-wise, I can play off them and help out a bit more. And then if it comes to just getting it done in the contest wrestling, I'm pretty confident that I can wrestle and leave at least half the contest. So ideal world, I think mid-size helps with our team balance. But if a team does play 3 talls, like I have to match up on a lob or Jesse Hogan for Freo, or if it's Port, I have to go to Marshall or resting ruck. I'm comfortable personally in that spot, and actually sort of allows me a little bit more to roll off and support.
Mate, all the best for this weekend.
Appreciate it, boys.
Cheers, Tom.
Good to have you in. Tom Nudo, thanks to Leader Computers, Australia's largest PC and server manufacturer, built and serviced right here in Adelaide.
Dreaming of an Audi? Make it a reality. The Audi End of Financial Year event. On now at Audi Solitaire. Ends June 30, 2021, while stock lasts. T's and C's and exclusions at audisolitaire.com.au, DL 65541.
New Age Caravans Adelaide has a brand new showroom on North East Road with the best caravan facilities in the state. And to celebrate, they're throwing a 10-day grand opening super sale. Get up to $5,000 of free accessories when you buy any New Age caravan. And there's even limited pre-Christmas build spots available. Don't miss the New Age Caravans Adelaide Grand Opening Super Sale. Hurry, end Sunday. 817 North East Road, Valley View, open 7 days.
Now, we all like to buy Australian when we can.
And while all fresh pork sold here is 100% Australian, what most people don't know is that the majority of ham and bacon in Australia is made using imported meat. Now, that seems a touch un-Australian.
I think you go harder than that, Will. It's almost bordering on treason. If you give a damn about Australian ham and bacon, now there's a way you can make sure that what you're buying is fair dinkum Aussie.
Simply look for a full bar chart under the green and gold kangaroo on the packet, and if you see it, then you know it's made using Australian pork.
And by doing so, you'll be supporting our Australian pork farmers and helping secure Australian jobs.
To make sure you're buying ham and bacon made with Australian pork, simply look out for the green and gold kangaroo on the packet in your supermarket today.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Partly cloudy and 17 today with the 8:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Trust Physio Extra. Norwood, Purie Street, Marion, Halla Cove, Seaford and Victor Harbour. PhysioExtra.com.
Labor argues the federal budget is designed to keep the Prime Minister in his job and won't create real reform. Massive spending measures have been announced to continue Australia's economic recovery, but wages will remain stagnant despite a jobs boom. Opposition leader Anthony Albanese has told Nine there's nothing in the budget to lift wages and boost productivity.
This isn't a reforming budget. This is identifying where they had problems that they themselves had created, with the aged care crisis, for example, with childcare affordability, putting some money at it, but not solving any of the fundamental issues there.
Rebecca Pickering from the Civil Contractors Association says it's good to see funding for some significant projects in SA.
Great to see those projects that we've had on the radar for some time. It does look like there is that funding increase, which is great. It'd be good to see some more of that detail when it becomes available, to understand if those commitments made are in addition to or inclusive of previous announcements made.
A jewellery store was targeted late last night in the city. Senior Constable Kylie Simpson says just after 11, a man smashed the window of a Rundle Mall shop and grabbed several items.
After a very small foot chase, they arrested the man on King William Street. So 25-year-old man from the Northern Territory. He was actually in possession of the jewellery at the time. He's been charged with serious criminal trespass, property damage, theft and hinder police.
He's been refused bail and will front court today. A taste of winter in Adelaide. We've had our coldest morning in 8 months, the mercury dropping to just 5.1. There are renewed calls for a shift away from quarantine hotels to Howard Springs-type facilities after a new case emerged of COVID in Victoria. The man may have contracted it while in hotel quarantine in South Australia. Former AMA President Dr Tony Bartoni telling Nine the hotel quarantine model is no longer the gold standard.
We've just got to really continue to try and ensure that Howard Springs, the gold standard, becomes the norm rather than the exception to the rule, especially as numbers continue to escalate around the world and variants become even more common in those returning travellers.
The hard work of nurses during the pandemic and COVID rollout is being recognised this International Nurses Day. Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia Chairwoman Veronica Casey says they've played a vital role to many in the community.
Throughout this global crisis, we've seen nurses really rise to the occasion in the sense that they've upskilled, they've been innovative, nurses put their patients in the community first, and I think that's been profoundly evident.
A big honour for Taylor Swift at the Brits this morning, the British music industry awarding the American singer-songwriter the Global Icon Award. Previous winners are David Bowie, Robbie Williams and Elton John. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Save up to $400 on selected Miele cooking appliances. Adelaide Appliance Gallery, home of Mr Dishwasher.
It's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Adelaide defender Tom Doedee says he feels some sympathy for Port Adelaide ruckman Scott Lycett after he was handed a 4-match suspension for rough conduct. Lycett received the penalty at the tribunal last night for his tackle on Crows midfielder Ned McHenry. Doedee telling David and Will Lycett's conduct since has been first class.
The way that he's come out about it, saying like his remorseful and stuff's been great, and I think he genuinely is. I think maybe he sent Ned something to say apologise for it and things like that.
Yeah, right. Well, like an email or a text or something.
No, I think it might have been a gift and a card.
Meantime, Eagles forward Josh Kennedy faces a last-minute fitness test in a bid to play Adelaide on Sunday. West Coast football manager Craig Vozzo says it will be touch and go to see if their star forward plays against the Crows.
It's a corky as well as a strain. We found out it's only a small strain on scan, and speaking to the doctor, he'll be a test later in the week.
Manchester City has been crowned Premier League champions for a 5th time and 7th time in their history. Manchester United's 2-1 loss to Leicester means the Citizens can't be caught at the summit with 3 games left to play. The win also all but secures Champions League football next season for Leicester. And there was one other game this morning, Southampton 3-1 winners over Crystal Palace. The Adelaide 36ers' 3-game winning streak has come to an end after going down 71-66 against the Illawarra Hawks. And Aussie John Millman has won his first-round match at the Rome Tennis Masters. The Aussie defeated Serbian Dusan Lajovic 6-3, 6-4. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great deal and 3 years free scheduled servicing on executive-driven vehicles at Dave Potter Honda.
Look out for a smash at Paraka, Eldersmith Road near Maxwell Road. 3 cars involved there. Another prank Fulham Gardens this morning. That's Grange Road near Tapley's Hill Road. 2 cars involved. Crafers on the freeway. The right-hand lane is closed from Crafers to the tunnels. We're seeing delays building city-bound and getting busy Regency Road at North-South Motorway for works. And also quite sluggish this morning South Road at Anzac Highway. At Professionals Real Estate, they believe that the true value of any home is the life inside. For a free Professionals property appraisal, visit professionals.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
Mostly sunny, 17 today, showers tomorrow, 17, and a possible shower Friday. Right now it's 10 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Renovators are inspired to transform their homes right now, so there's never been a better time to act with Adelaide Bathroom and Kitchen Supplies. ABK Supplies is a local and independent specialist, so they're always accessing quality new brands with exceptional warranties, which means even more renovation options. For dream bathroom and kitchen supplies, ask for ABK Supplies. Go to abksupplies.com.au or see the showroom, Lower North East Road, opposite Durnan Court Village.
Make up for lost time on the high seas at the Phil Hoffman Travel Cruise Sail Day. It's time to start planning for that long-awaited holiday. Join the cruise experts for a day of exclusive deals, Saturday the 15th of May. There's cruises close to home departing from Adelaide or further afar like New Zealand, South Pacific, Hawaii, Europe, Asia and more. Register at pht.com.au. Jump back on board with Phil Hoffman Travel, proudly South Australian and here for you.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
22 minutes to 9. We spoke to a host of interest groups here in South Australia, got their score of the budget after 7 o'clock. Now, turn our attention to the Federal Trade and Finance Minister, South Australian Senator Simon Birmingham. Minister, good morning to you.
Good morning, Will, Pembo, listeners. Good to be with you guys.
Thanks for joining us, Burmo. Well, no one can accuse the federal government of undercooking it in spending terms. My impression of all this, though, and maybe it's guided by my stint in the Canberra Press Gallery coincided with the election of John Howard, Peter Costello as Treasurer, where it was all about paying down debt, reducing the deficit, very frugal period. Clearly, you have to govern for the times that you've been dealt. But longer term, how does Australia get things, back in respectable financial order? Because that's your job now as Finance Minister. Were you watching Josh Frydenberg madly scribbling on the notepad going, geez, mate, calm down?
Well, Bembo, you're right that there's a huge task ahead of the nation. And that task is not unlike what had to occur after World War II. The economic shock to the globe of the COVID-19 pandemic is the biggest global economic shock since the Second World War. So we're facing absolutely a circumstance where the measures that were put in place as emergency provisions, both to keep health safe and to keep jobs and the economy secure, have come at a very significant cost. And that cost is now there as debt going forward that we have to deal with. But last night's budget was one framed where we were able to make the commitments we've made, but still have net debt lower than was forecast in last year's budget in each and every year across the forward estimates. Net debt, both in absolute terms and also as a share of the economy. So for the next 10 years, we can see we've been able to make these investments in targeted areas. Firstly, is still keeping us strong and safe. Some $40 billion of further temporary COVID economic and health measures that we've put in place, but also then in some essential areas of social infrastructure and capital like aged care.
For your kids, though, and for my kids, they're about the same age, are we kicking the can down the road a bit? Is there a danger that we're doing that? I mean, what's Australia going to look like in a fiscal sense in 2035 when they're all trying to sort of, really establish themselves in the jobs market, buy houses, all that sort of stuff?
We are able to contain, as the important measure that is used around the world really is that debt relative to the size of your economy. And we are able to contain that over a period of time. And the faster our economy grows, the less that becomes an issue. And that's why so much of the plan in this budget is built around how we grow the economy to recover from the shock of COVID, to deal with the immediate consequences, but also the long-term ones. And so for our kids, that's about making sure that when they finish their education and their training, there's actually an economy with jobs for them. That means that they become taxpayers and that we're actually in an environment where we're able to fund and pay for those ongoing services that Australians expect. And so our investments, be they in tax cuts, in immediate terms for South Australians to keep the COVID recovery strong, 720,000 South Australians will benefit from those immediate shorter-term tax cuts. But then the longer-term tax reforms, the measures that really bring forward investment by Australian businesses that make them more productive, and then really important niche things like our investment in a new patent box for medicines and biotechnologies and so on, which is about ensuring that as part of our manufacturing strategy, we don't just have investment occur in Australia, innovation occur in Australia, we also have the investment in commercialisation and manufacturing happen here too.
I think one of the really exciting data points and projections in the federal budget is in relation to employment, forecast to stay below 5% for 3 years, 4.75% 2023, then being 4.5% through 2024 and 2025. That said, doesn't seem to correlate in your own data with any change to wage growth. And historically, there's a link between those two. Why is low unemployment not necessarily going to lead to an increase in real wages?
It's a link, but one comes after the other in that sense, Will. So the updated advice from the Reserve Bank of Australia, from the Federal Treasury and all the economic leading agencies is that you've got to get unemployment now below 5% and have it sustained below 5% to be able to really trigger those sorts of points that deliver wages growth. And now, pleasingly, the forecasts do point to us getting unemployment below 5%, and it's a long time since we had unemployment sustained at that sort of level. And again, against a global backdrop, we've got more people in Australia in work today than we had pre-pandemic. We're the only advanced country in the world to have achieved that type of outcome for their economy as quickly as we have. That's allowing us to keep our debt many multiples lower than other countries around the world, having Australians in jobs, and the forecast is for a further 250,000 jobs to be created over the next 2 years. And importantly, that's supported by things like our skilling plan, which sees direct incentives for employers to take on more apprentices, 100,000 additional apprenticeships that we're going to support being created as part of that plan.
Is this the part now for the next couple of years where you're dancing on the head of a pin, so to speak, with regard to the pressures between inflation and the fact that we've got 0% interest rates, and so much of the good and positive economic story in Australia at the moment seems to be about the fact that there is interest rates at historic lows, and that's been locked in by the RBA for a couple of years. But B, you've got all this extra money sloshing around that the federal government's spending. Is there a danger that you can fall off one side or the other, and whereby either interest rates have to get jacked up and inflation starts becoming a real issue, and you start to stifle some of that growth?
Well, interest rates are very low, and they're forecast to stay very low for a considerable period of time. And again, it's why some of the heavy lifting in terms of economic support has to be done by the budget, because that traditional lever that's been there of the Reserve Bank being able to do more is now reduced by virtue of those interest rates being at such historic lows. But we think that the projections in this budget and the assumptions underpinning it are all relatively cautious and conservative. We still project for iron ore prices to go back down to $55 per tonne, notwithstanding the fact that they have consistently in recent budgets exceeded those expectations and delivered improvements in those budget bottom lines when final results are forecast. But we're making those conservative projections. Even in terms of unemployment forecasts, the Reserve Bank's projections are more ambitious than what we've put into this budget and see as the likely forecast there. So we think we've taken a careful and cautious pathway there to try to get make sure that people can have confidence that the budget settings are genuine and that they are going to support that economic recovery, that jobs growth that is so essential as part of our plan to be able to fund then the extra investments in fixing aged care, in fully delivering the National Disability Insurance Scheme, and in implementing important new measures in mental health support for Australians.
Burma, just finally, on a local issue, and one that we think has got some very exciting national applications, we've been talking this morning about this joint venture between the US biotech giant FIVEaa, the University of Adelaide and SAMRI to achieve what would be full sovereign capability and self-reliance in terms of mRNA vaccine production, making the vaccines for companies such as Pfizer and Moderna under licence right here in Theberton at the old Pfizer factory. There's talk of seeking federal assistance to help get this up and running. Is that something, on the basis of what seems to be such an exciting idea, is that something that the Commonwealth would entertain?
This is a distinct possibility. It's certainly our intention to secure mRNA vaccine capability and manufacturing capability for Australia. This is a new technology as to how vaccines are made that only came about as from the surge in research that COVID drove around the world, and Australia didn't have the capability and doesn't have it at present to manufacture that vaccine. But we have been talking to the big companies like Pfizer and Moderna about getting the technology transfer of their vaccine patents to an Australian manufacturer to enable that. We've put a measure in the budget to be able to fund that tech transfer, which is the first commercial negotiation, and then manufacturing, which is the second commercial negotiation. I understand that our health department officials have had discussions in the past with FIVEaa. We'd certainly look forward to them being part of the process as we determine how we will best get that manufacturing capability into Australia. And I've certainly had representations before the last 24 hours from Premier Stephen Marshall and from SA's Industry Minister Stephen Patterson, who have been highlighting this potential to us. And it's one part of the options available as we seek to deliver that vaccine manufacturing capability in Australia, knowing that the COVID vaccines probably won't just be the ones people are getting over the next 12 months, but will necessitate likely booster shots that we would like to have made in Australia. And, of course, that this new technology will probably be used for other vaccines in the future that we want to have manufactured here too.
It's exciting.
Senator, just lastly, as Australia's Finance Minister, would you like to see states that received a GST windfall like South Australia of somewhere in the order of $1 billion to spend that as opposed to using it to pay down debt or tidy up the bottom line?
So we certainly want to see states do as we are doing, which is drive the economic recovery for Australia by helping to support job creation. And I know that in areas like investing in creating more apprenticeships, we've got good partners in South Australia who've worked with us at every step of the way. And I hope that that's what we'll see in relation to that GST windfall that's flowing through to the states and territories.
Good stuff. Senator Simon Birmingham, the Minister for Trade and Finance. Thanks for joining us this morning.
So much. Thanks, guys. My pleasure.
11 to 9.
Good answer about the
it's exciting.
Biosina. So it sounds like stuff's already happening.
Wheels are in motion, I think.
It's good.
All right, let's check traffic thanks to Dave Potter Honda. Get a great deal on 3 years free scheduled servicing and executive-driven vehicles. That's Dave Potter Honda.
Look out for praying this morning. Salisbury East, Smith Road near Main North Road causing a few delays. Another praying Mawson Lakes, Elder Smith Road near Main North Road. 3 cars involved there. And Crafers on the freeway. The right-hand lane is closed from Crafers to the tunnels. That's city-bound. Delays are building there. Getting busy, Regency Road at North-South Motorway. That's heavy. And Dawes Road to Goodwood Road also sluggish on the driving this morning too. Bob Jane T-Mart's flash sale is on now. SUV 4x4 tyres and wheels up to 20% off top brands. And Sunday, while stocks last. Visit bobjane.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
If you're an employer and want South Australian people, this is what you can get when you post a job nationally. Lots of interest, but it's overwhelming. But if you're after a local, you can now also post to a free South Australian job board. And if you need help, Recruit Smart will assist you to filter and find the best people faster. RecruitSmart.com.au, a South Australian family business. It's quick and easy to post jobs online. RecruitSmart.com.au, helping you find the best people faster.
The Hospital Research Foundation Home Lottery is giving you the chance to win something really special. A stunning Scott Salisbury home on the Esplanade at South Brighton with the most incredible views. Fully furnished and professionally decorated and landscaped, this home comes with everything you could ever want or need, including $1 million cash. It's a $3.4 million grand prize and it could all be yours. Get your tickets today at homelottery.com.au and join the fight for cures, better treatments and improved care. Licence M13989.
This July, a world premiere event. Eclipse. Pink Floyd orchestrated. Southern Cross Symphony and an ensemble of Australia's finest rock musicians reignite the awe-inspiring sound of Pink Floyd in all its glory. 40 musicians and singers perform all the hits, Us and Them, Comfortably Numb, and Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Saturday, July 17 at Festival Theatre. Book now at Bass.
Imagine peaceful nights and spectacular mornings living in your brand new luxury home at the 19th West. The 19th at West is a stunning home and land release offering uninterrupted views across the manicured fairways of the Grange Golf Club or looking over the green open spaces of West's Linear Park. This is as good as it gets, folks. It is just stunning.
It really is a classy project, this. The 19th offers an exclusive range of 2, 3 and 4 bedroom home and land packages. They're all magnificent, architecturally designed homes set in a private enclave of premium allotments and priced from just $708,000.
Whether you're looking for a spacious family home, a new outlook as you downsize, or a beautiful step into Adelaide's property market, you'll enjoy a lifestyle that's truly above par.
And as you can imagine, these stunning homes will sell fast. So act now and secure your future in a truly beautiful part of Adelaide. Visit the19thwest.com.au.
Decided you need to get behind the wheel of a new Mazda? You don't have to wait for end of financial year sales. Mawson Lakes Mazda has amazing deals across the entire range of new Mazdas right now. With up to 300 cars on site, you're sure to find the model and colours you're dreaming of. Or drive away in a low-kilometre demo before the crush of end of financial year sales. Don't wait months. Get into Mawson Lakes Mazda now, just a short drive from the city.
At Terry White Chemmart, we're here to help this winter. Book your flu vaccination service online today. Walk-ins available. Terry White Chemmart. Now that's real chemistry. Conditions apply. See terrywhitechemmart.com.au for details.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Mart's, buy 3 get 1 free on Bridgestone, Copia and selected Dunlop passenger tyres. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 to 9 for more on the federal budget. Leon Viner will be catching up with the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, after 9 o'clock, so make sure you stick around for that. Right now, it's time to go behind closed doors thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast 13 13 64.
And when we get behind closed...
$13.95. Adelaide's 5AA.
This is Roey's Sports Show.
Yeah, welcome back to the Sports Show. And Leith, we've got an absolute legend on the phone.
Who is it, Roey?
Oh, we love him. We just love him. And we miss him and we love him and we miss him since he disappeared from footy calls. I'm talking about the legend, the man, the icon, the fat lady himself. It's Rex Hunt. Rexy, how are you?
Who's this, Roey, is it?
Rexy, you legend.
Well, I'm going to keep calling you Roey, so it sounds like we're old mates, but we've probably never met, but who cares? This is radio.
Oh, you're so funny. I love you, Rexy.
Of course you do. You're only human.
Oh, do a bit of the fat lady, Rex, because that's funny when you do that. Oh, that is amazing. We love Rex Hunt.
Yep, that's me, Rex Hunt. You know what that rhymes with, don't you?
Oh!
It rhymes with Tex, you idiot. What did you think I was going to say?
Oh, Rexy, you are gold. What a legend. We love you.
Yeah, look, Roey, what's your first name?
Stephen.
Stephen, is it? Well, look, Stephen, I know you think I'm a legend and you love me terribly, but people tend to forget that when I was still calling for 3AW football, there was a time during the game when Stephen Kernahan had just kicked a goal against Collingwood. And I was so excited about this wonderful game of ours, and when I say ours, I mean Victoria's.
Oh, come on, Rexy, you don't mean that.
Well, I tell you what I said during the game. I said, when Kernahan kicked that goal, I said, and I quote, "It's a goal, and you idiots interstate can try and get in on the act, but this is Victorian football." That's what I said. Do you still love me?
Oh, Rexy!
Everyone keeps saying that we Victorians still think we own the game. It might be interesting if you ask me if I regret saying that on the air.
Well, it might be, but I don't remember you saying that, so that's lucky.
Well, I did say it, so if you ask me, I won't be able to deny it.
No, I suppose not.
Well, it's that time.
Oh, I love the fat lady.
I know you do. That's why I keep doing it for you. You're like a 6-year-old. Yibbity yibbita.
Oh.
That's all, folks.
How good was John Blake's Rex Hunt?
Yeah, it was uncanny. It actually sounded like Rex Hunt.
I had one of those moments listening to it going, has he just spliced in...
Yeah, because sometimes he does.
Yeah.
But no, that was all new dialogue.
Unbelievable.
I wonder if the was Rex, or whether it was Blakey. That was Blakey.
It's in Blakey's range.
I was thinking about Blakey the other day. The band that he does the best job covering, and he's a musical chameleon. He can sound like anyone, but he does a brilliant Paul McCartney. I think he actually sounds like one. He's like the fifth Beatle. It's quite a skill.
Paul McCartney to Rex Hunt. What can't he do?
Who was the fifth Beatle? Who was that drummer who turned up in Adelaide?
3 minutes to 9.
So, you've got a will. But, is your estate plan in place? What if you lose capacity to manage your financial affairs? Or to make medical or health decisions? What happens then? Who gets your superannuation? Who controls the family trust? From the simplest to the most complex wills and estate plans, Donlan Lawyers can answer your questions and help carry out your wishes. Wills and estate planning? Visit donlanlawyers.com. That's donlanlawyers.com.
There's the moment you first notice it. Then there's the moment you drive it and decide it's the one. The Mazda Moment End of Financial Year sale is on now. It's your moment to drive home an exceptional vehicle at an outstanding price. Make this more than just another ad. Make it the moment you decide to upgrade your drive. The Mazda Moment End of Financial Year Sale. Visit your Mazda dealer today.
There's no blueprints to your new custom-built Beechwood home. Well, not yet anyway. But together with Beechwood, it won't take long to turn your ideas into sketches, then drawings, and finally a home you can live a beautiful life in. That's the really exciting thing about building with Beechwood Homes. They'll build the home you want. So collect your thoughts, your ideas, your Pinterest boards, whatever, and let's talk. Because life's good. It's even better in a Beechwood home.
Hi, I'm Stephen Marshall. This past year has been a tough one for every South Australian, but because of your toughness and your teamwork, we now enjoy a safer place to live, work and raise a family. I want to thank you for showing that together we're better, and together we'll continue to recover, rebound and grow to make this the best place to live in the world. My team and I will continue to work hard to protect South Australia and to create a future that we can all share in. We're on track, so thank you.
Spoken and authorised by S. Marshall, Liberal Party, Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, get instant cash back on iconic tyre brands, including Michelin, Goodyear and Bridgestone. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
30 seconds away from 9 o'clock. Did you get an answer?
Jimmy Nicol.
Jimmy Nicol.
Jimmy Nicol.
Thanks to everyone that texted and tweeted us with the answer.
Yep. It's been a lot of fun, folks. We'll do it all again tomorrow.
Just without the federal budget part.
Yeah, without the federal budget part. And apart from a bit of soreness in the arm, I feel like I've survived the AstraZeneca jab. If I lift my arm up, it hurts. To which my father will say, well, here's a solution. Don't lift your arm up.
You're in the right line of work.
You sound a bit snuffling, mate.
Yeah, I'm going to go to bed. Leon Biner's coming up. We'll catch you tomorrow morning from 6.